Hello,
Wonderful.
hello. Hi, everybody. Hi, everybody, and welcome to Abraham Hicks, The Results Show. This is a YouTube channel I started. Oh, I like that applause. This is a YouTube channel I started because Sheila McCarthy, Sieusankar, I wanted to have a place where I could share all the things I've been applying from the Abraham Hicks material and all the success I've had in my life. And I started it selfishly so I'd have a focal point to share this because the stories make me feel really good. And then I started doing these sharing episodes. Why not? It's still a new channel. Start these sharing episodes so I can invite guests to come and share their amazing stories and how they're manifesting all sorts of wonderful thoughts and feelings. And we know those things turn into wonderful physical things as well. So our guest today is Sanjula Mansingh. And I'm going to go ahead and let Sunjula introduce herself and then we'll get started. Welcome.
Thank you so much, first of all, Sheila. Thank you for inviting me here. And welcome to everyone who's watching. I'm so glad to be a part of this show. And I know for sure that this is going to be a channel that is going to be always high vibing because I know that Sheila is a vibrational snob, as they say. She only lets the positive in her vibe around her and only puts out uplifting thoughts. So that's the feeling that I always get when I talk to you, Sheila. So thank you for letting me be here. My name is Sanjula. I'm from India and I'm a life coach who teaches people about the law of attraction and how to allow the things that they want in their life with ease. And this is something that I have started recently since last year because I've been learning about the law of attraction for now I think about 6.5, 7 years or so. And after consciously understanding more and more about the law of attraction and gravitating towards teachings of Abraham Hicks and Louise Hay and Wayne Dyer and people like that, I think I want to share the love of life with more and more people. I just want more people to know that life is easy and things can come to you with ease and you're supposed to feel happy. Life is supposed to feel good. So today I just want to share my story on this wonderful show right here with you. So I guess that's what I'm inviting all of you guys to listen to. Thank you for being here.
Yay, great. Thank you.
So I guess I'll share
Yeah,
my
I know you have lots and lots of stories. I meant to say, Sanjula and I met on Abraham Fun. So Abraham
story.
Fun is a Facebook page. I'll put the link in the description. And if you all are Abraham Hicks, I'm assuming people who are coming to this channel are Abraham Hicks fans or soon will be. Or yeah, the Abraham Hicks talks at abrahamhicks.com. They talk about how we're really the leading edge and they're sort of our fans and they're our follower. Excuse me, but I guess I consider myself an Abraham Hicks fan. I've been to a lot of their live sessions. I've been in the hot seat 7 times, which only matters if you pretend it matters, and I like to pretend it mattered at the time. Although now it seems like it's taken it to the next level. I used to just want to be in the hot seat. Now I feel like the entire seminar is for me. Like any question I have in my mind while I'm sitting in the audience, it is answered or they take it further or it just goes where I want it to go, what I was seeking. And I feel like the entire seminar is for me. The last time I saw them in Orlando, Florida, and I'll be going again March 28th. So I'm looking forward to having that experience and sharing that with you all. Oh, and then to Asheville in April. So that's a 2-day one. Woo-hoo. Looking forward to that because there's a little something different that happens on the 2 days. And on the cruises, they talk about there's a lot of momentum. And not that you have to be at an Abraham seminar at all. They'd be the first people to say you don't even need to know about their content. You don't even need to know about their information. You can just focus on the good in your life and have a really, really good life. I just like to use it as an opportunity to focus and to calibrate because if you're at an event, a live event, you're like, I'm here focused on this, but I could be in nature for a couple of hours. I could be doing something else I love. I could be basking in appreciation. I don't have to be at one of their events. I'm just currently using that as a sort of permission slip. Another teacher, bashar.org, BASHAR.org, he mentions using things as a permission slip to get access to more of who we really are. But I brought all that up for some reason, Sanjula. What was I saying? Oh, Abraham Fund. So the Abraham Fund group that Karen Money Williams had started, and now they're up to like 46,000 members, something like that, all over the world. And Karen really likes to keep things light and fun and positive. And although I belong to a lot of Abraham Hicks groups, you know, my group list is very long because I just like to jump in and pick and choose, and that's where I like to calibrate to on all those in all those groups. I really enjoyed the Abraham Fund group. I got to meet them first. Mark Toms is Karen's partner, and I got to meet them in person. They open up their home once a month and have live Abraham Hicks focused meetings there, and we'll be doing another one. They'll be doing another one this Saturday, and I'll be there in person. And so that come from that, and then then I knew them years ago, and then I lived away and lived to France, and then came back and then reconnected with them. And by the time I reconnected with them, they had this online presence, which maybe they had all along, but since I've known them in person, it never occurred to me to go online. And now I'm participating with them online, and that's how Sunjula and I met. We connected through this sort of vortex of this Abraham fun, positive, uplifting, light group. And as everybody can see, Sanjula is, even though her name is spelled Sanjula, pronounced Sunjula, but she is sort of like the sun, right? You'll see her glowing, and I have the sun behind me. But
Yes.
Sunjula has it coming out of her like the sun. So of course, when I heard her, we both gave talks on Abraham Fund. They have a weekly Zoom meeting on Friday night at 7:30 Eastern time. And we both gave talks on there. And so when I got to see her present, I said, hey, I'm starting this new channel. Would you like to come share your story? So I have the advantage of some of you listening now that I've gotten to hear a handful of her awesome, high vibing stories. And whichever ones she picks to share with us today will be the right ones for whoever is listening for you to hear. And so I don't know if you have a spot or favorite one you want to start with, Sanjula?
I think, Sheila, since we were talking about Abraham, I would like to start from how I got to know about Abraham and how I got to this whole understanding of the law of attraction. And when I look back at my childhood, I think I always was this kid who believed in something out there. And back then, I would associate it not just to God in the religious sense, but whatever the closest my understanding of source was a Santa Claus, the understanding of Santa Claus, that there's this kind, loving presence who knows you in and out. And when you ask for something, Santa Claus is going to give it to you on Christmas. And, I felt like I had this personal connection with Santa Claus, that I could share everything with him and he would know me. So as a kid, I always believed in Santa Claus, and I very deeply loved Santa Claus. And after a while, once, you grow up and somehow that understanding fades away, my childhood was still good, but I think that love for life, the love for, source or God or universe, that kind of faded away for a while. But it was dormant. It was always wanting to, expand, and I always wanted to know more. I wanted to learn more. And so when I got to college, which was an engineering college, so I have a degree in engineering in biotechnology. And so I went to this college, and I had a lot of freedom for the first time ever to explore more things, to explore different ideas, to be part of different groups. I remember I started seeking out more in terms of, I started doing meditation. I started joining other groups which were around meditation and mindfulness and things like that. But I remember very distinctly this one day when I went to the university library of an engineering college. So if you're thinking about that, it's filled with rows and rows of engineering textbooks, mathematics and physics and chemistry, and you name it. It's all, industrial books. So I am drawn to this library for some reason, and I keep walking towards something, and it's almost magnetic how I'm drawn to this library. And I go to the endmost section, which contains book of English literature and English grammar. And there's this one section, this tiniest section in this huge library, which is related to spirituality. And it made sense to me then that, of course, something clicked here, that I've come here so far. And there were books on Hindu religion and other religions and Christianity and Bible, and all of those things were there. But then I found my way to Louise Hay's books. I found, You Can Heal Your Life, and a couple of other books, Conversations with God by Neil Donald Walsh. I think that is also one of the big, amazing books. But there were also Abraham Hicks' book. There was, I think, Ask and It's Given, that was kept there. And I remember picking up, first I started with Louise Hay. First started with, You Can Heal Your Life. So it was simpler for me to kind of understand that, okay, positive thoughts, they are good for you. Then I went further with conversations with God, which is really quite radical. For someone who's new to spirituality, this is a book about someone who's talking to God, who's conversing with God and having these different ideas. And I remember one phrase from that book that still stuck to me, where it said that your thoughts are creative. And that was the first time that I understood that in a deeper level. I thought that creative meant that you have creativity and you can be artistic. But when he said that your thoughts are creative, he meant that your thoughts are creating. You're creating with your thoughts. And that was huge for me because that's somewhere it rang a bell. And I remember at that point, Sheila, it was funny that I did go through Abraham Hicks books. I did see the emotional guidance scale. I did understand a couple of things about it, but it did not resonate with me as much. So at that point, I was probably not a vibrational match to understand that, which is completely fine. I needed to learn from ground up with other books, and I did understand a little bit from Abraham Hicks, but it was still too radical for me, this understanding of inner being and vibration and all of those things. So I set that aside for a while, but I dug deeper into everything else. I dug deeper into Reiki. I tried to understand more about angels and things like that. So I was just exploring everything, the Pandora's box. And slowly, step by step, I started really understanding, because once you understand law of attraction, or once you get to know about it, it's hard to miss how it is at play in your life. Once someone just introduces you to the law of attraction, it's hard to miss that, okay, this is a manifestation of something that I was thinking. Maybe it can be a cup of coffee that you were thinking about, or maybe it was, something small, but it's hard to miss. So then I started consciously, deliberately started trying to manifest a couple of things. And it was almost as if all the all the wishes and desires that I ever had, that, I wanted to live in a magical world. I loved Harry Potter. I loved Santa Claus and things like that. All of that came true, but even better, there's not that I don't have to learn spells for the things that I want to come to me. I just have my thoughts, and I can think, and I can trust and rely on the law of attraction that, things that I want can come to me. And so I was just excited. I wanted to explore more and manifest more. So back then, one of the manifestations that I had, the biggest manifestation that has impacted me very beautifully, was manifesting my boyfriend, who at that time I was I was dating someone, and I was not in a very happy, expansive relationship. It was something that was contrasting for me for a while. So I remember this particular day where I sent out these rockets of desires, where I said that I know that I deserve something better. I know I deserve something beautiful. I know I deserve an anchor in my life. And very specifically, I remember saying this, that I deserve an anchor in my life. And I sent out this, rocket of desire, very strong. And I remember this now because I look back at it. That was the exact day that my boyfriend landed in my town, where my university was. And the fun thing is that my boyfriend is actually German. And I'm talking about being an Indian, studying at an Indian university in a South Indian state. And the beauty of law of attraction is that there are so many ways in which things that you want can come to you. So if there's a love that you're looking for in your life, it can come to you all the way from Germany, even if you're sitting in south of India. And I would have not, I mean, I could have never imagined, I would never imagine myself to be that person who would have a foreigner boyfriend. But lo and behold, he came into my life and we got to know each other really well. Somehow we were working in the same organization. I was part of the organizing team. He was a participant in the things that we were doing, and we got along really well. And it was like instant connection. It was as if everything that I had asked for, as Abraham say, that the vortex that is there, that they know what is exactly what you want, all the components, it's there waiting for you. And then once you finally let in it comes to you. So you think that you want these three things, but over the experience of your life, you've asked for so many things. And finally, when you let it in, you see the manifestation, and it has everything that you'd ever asked for, not just the three things, but the 3,000 things, the tiniest of things that you ever wanted. It has everything. So I had that manifestation. So that was something that I feel like one of the best things that has ever happened to me, that I have ever allowed.
So far.
Yeah.
So far.
So far. So
Sunjula,
much more to do.
can I pause? Can we just kind of DVD pause?
Sure,
because
sure, sure.
I'm so awesome. Just because there's a couple of things I just want to comment on to pick up and before we go forward.
Yes.
So the first thing I realized, we hadn't said to anyone, I'm in Florida, you're in India. We hadn't said that. So, and people might have thought you could be living anywhere. I mean, people from India live all over the
In the US.
world. So if somebody watching this that lives in the US might have assumed you're living in the US. And so when you said Germany, that's still a far away, but then you clarified it by saying you're in India. So I just wanted to point that out. It's really awesome. And then the other thing is about the material. Because I kind of came through, Wayne Dyer was one of the first ones as well. I think it was Deepak Chopra, Wayne Dyer, because Deepak Chopra is someone that Oprah had mentioned, and that was back when I was sort of reaching for kind of things that Oprah had that were positive. I mean, I was always an optimist, and I considered things just worked out for me. I thought I was lucky, and I am lucky, but I just thought I was a lucky person. And I didn't realize the things I was doing and the techniques I was unconsciously or organically doing about focusing on the positive, about daydreaming about things. I didn't realize those were techniques. I just thought, well, let me imagine it like a movie. How would I like it to go? And then I got jobs and money and relationships, and things just always worked out for me. The times it didn't work out the way I initially wanted, I would get a little surprised, like how'd that happen? So I really enjoyed late in whatever year it would have been for me, I don't know, whenever Oprah was on, that kind of thing. Just so I became, I knew about Wayne Dyer probably in the 2000s, somewhere in there.
Yeah.
And then into Abraham Hicks more in like 2005. So, but from what I understand, Wayne Dyer picked, kind of had a smorgasbord of all these different authors and things, and he really enjoyed the Abraham Hicks material. And from what they say, he took a lot from them. And there's an interview with him, with Abraham and Wayne Dyer from just a couple of years ago on YouTube. That's interesting. Have you seen that one?
Yeah, the co-creation at its, I think that's what it's called.
Yeah, co-creation at its best. Yeah. Oh, maybe it's not on YouTube. Maybe it's something you buy. But anyway,
Yeah.
it's really interesting for people that might be just kind of making that kind of at that point. And it's not like Abraham, it's just my current teacher I'm enjoying. They often say they're not our first teacher and they won't be our last teacher. But it just feels full, or like a homecoming. It feels like it has a lot to offer me. And what I'm wondering if this was for you, because you and I read the Neil Donald Walsh, and what I've heard of Abraham say about other teachers, not specifically about Neil Donald Walsh, so it'd be interesting to look that up on YouTube. I know that Louise Hay and Esther were close, and I'm assuming if they're close, then it probably resonates with the Abraham teachings. And then with Neil Donald Walsh, I wonder if she would have said the same thing about him. But so you went from a kind of a book with Louise Hay, kind of like the placebo effect, which works like half the time. Even when people know they're being given a placebo or a sugar pill, if they're told, you know, sometimes we give people the sugar pill and it works anyway, it still has an amazing high effect. And there's a doctor, Dr. Joe Dispenza. Have you seen him in the What the Bleep Do We Know? Dr. Joe Dispenza? Okay. So he has this whole book called You Are the Placebo. And so he says, you know, we are the ones that can access vibrant health. So you went from the Louise Hay kind of like a placebo effect, kind of could get your mind around that, like positive thinking could cure or create healthy pathways. And then the Neil Donald Walsh seems specific to him, like he was receiving this message from God or source or whatever. But it might have been a bit of a jump to go from some random person could attract this message to we can all attract the message. We're all attracting it all the time. That might have been like kind of too big of a jump at the time for you.
Exactly.
So, and then the idea, like I didn't know, so I just wanted to see if that felt that way to you.
Yes,
and then go ahead.
No, it's fine. It's fine. I'll add later.
Okay. So then my other question is, I didn't realize when I got exposed to the Abraham Hicks material, it was through, I felt compelled to do this activity where I was working at this bank as a corporate trainer. And I felt compelled to do this activity and it was approved and I did this activity. And one of the women I met through there, we had a conversation And I mentioned Wayne Dyer, and she said, oh, if you like Wayne Dyer, you'll like this. And she rooted around and she found a CD, because this would have been in 2005-ish, 4, something like that. And so she handed me a CD that the Abraham used to give out. Well, the Abraham Hicks publications used to give out as their intro CD, step 1, step 2, step 3, ask sources on it and then allow it to come into your life. And I was like, there's a technique. I was like, awesome. But I didn't know it was channeled at that time. So I took the technique, applied it, got a job in California that I wanted, and started a career I wanted there. And then I was like, and it was like awesome, new car, a convertible, da, da, da. And then I decided I wanted to be back in Florida to be with my friend and her little daughter, who was like 3 at the time. And so I was like, well, it's a technique. I don't have to rely on myself being lucky anymore. I just follow this technique. And I, bam, came back, doubled my salary, great relocation. It was all like, even slingshotting back, it was amazing. But I didn't know it was channeled material for a long, long, long time. Like, I don't know if I knew until right before I went to one of their live events, which might have been 3 years after I exposed to the material, like something like that. Like I didn't understand it was channeled until I must have heard it in a recording, because YouTube wasn't that popular then. So it's kind of hard to, put ourselves back in that time capsule. But I'm curious, when did you know the Abraham Hicks material was channeled?
I actually can't put a finger on it, because even the understanding, when I look back at when I actually really started understanding Abraham, because I know, as I said, from the beginning, I was familiar with them. I was familiar with the books, and somehow it was a little bit too technical for me when I was just learning the ABCs of interaction. So it was just at that point of time, I knew that, okay, there's an emotional guidance system, because sometimes I look back at my journals. I still have journals from many years back where I say, okay, my EGS is there for me, which is my short form for emotional guidance system. So I knew that I picked up some things from back then, but still Abraham did not sink in totally. And there was a point where I don't know, I was kind of, you are in between authors. You sometimes like someone and you can hear the message that you really want to apply in your life through some authors. It's not particularly about a certain author, but there was this homecoming, as you said, just a couple of years back, like I think 2 or 3 years back, when I came back to Abraham, when I totally understood, and I knew that they were channeled from, I knew it at a certain point that they were channeled, but I was not so unsettled by that. Because I was into Reiki and angels and things, and conversations with God is about someone kind of channeling that presence, that spirit. So I was not so surprised by it, but there was this point when I understood this whole concept of inner being, our inner being, and how all of us are channels. That was huge, because to understand that, to know, because it's common in culture, if you think about it, that, okay, there are these people who have access to spiritual connection. You have shamans and you have witches, or you have these, whatever you want to call them, you have people who have this access. But you would think that these are special people who have a lot of practice, or who have, mastered the art, or who have been divinely chosen. But then you can do it. I can do it. And that was huge, that I didn't have to practice in the mystical arts of channeling, or I didn't have to be chosen by, some high priest. I can channel, and I have an inner being, and I have a connection with source. And that has been the biggest gift that Abraham has given me. I mean, law of attraction is beautiful and understanding it is beautiful, but I think that the anchor that I was looking for when I was talking about even with my boyfriend is this. This is the anchor that I was looking for all along, because
that's it. That's good. That's really good. Right, that connection, that feeling good.
Yes.
You are mating with your soul, they like to say. Wow, that's awesome.
Looking for love in all the right places, as they say.
In all the right places. Yay, that's you. What occurred to me as you were speaking is when because it would have been after around 2010 or whenever you first saw the book Ask and Is Given, that's a lot to take in at once, plus the internet, plus you can Google, right? And it's all right there like a fire hose. For me, 2004, I get a CD And I'm like off and running with those 3 steps. Didn't have a lot of extraneous stuff.
Yes.
It wasn't even a recording of one of their workshops. It was their old introductory, I mean, old, they've been doing this since 1980, whatever. So this was whatever they were doing in the 2000s. It was a step 1 of the process, step 2 of the process, step 3 of the process. And I was like, oh, I could do that. Awesome. As soon as I heard it, I was like, I can do it. So I got it in a very, the French would call it like an amuse-bouche, you know, just a little mouth delight,
Yeah.
you know, kind of thing. And so I had that, and I was off and running, and then I had personal experience. And then I felt like, I remember saying, I just had started the job with this company, my friend in Daytona, and Daytona isn't known for necessarily making, you know, 6 figures. People don't go there expecting to make, it's Florida. People always say, oh, the salaries are less and the, you know, cost of living is less. So, but since I'd ricocheted from California and used these techniques, now really focused myself on whatever I was doing sort of naturally. And my friend and I were kind of laughing. She's like, wow, you're the luckiest person I've ever met. And I'm like, I know, but I have this thing and positive, I kind of tried to describe it. And then I remember I started this job where already I was making, you know, the most money I'd made so far. They gave me a $15,000 relocation check for no receipts needed. They just gave me the check, and they said they could have gotten more if they realized that I wanted to be living in Florida in the beginning. And I was like, oh, more? I didn't even know there could be more. Okay. And then there was a bonus structure to receive a bonus. And then a few months into the job, I say to my friend, wouldn't it be nice if I got like because for some reason I had the idea when it comes to the end of the year that I should get a company bonus. I had that idea that I should get a bonus. And my friend who'd work in academia, she works at a college, and she's worked there since she graduated college. So she'd been working there. And in academia, they sort of had a stereotype of slow and salary increases and stuff like that. So she was thinking I was a crazy person because already I was making so much money in a small town. And she looked at me like, well, if anybody can do it, yeah, go ahead, get a bonus. And sure enough, they called a select group of employees in, and I was told I along with everybody, got a bonus. It was just going to be prorated. So if you're with the company a year, you got X amount of your salary. And if you're with the company 6 months, you know, you got a percentage. And so I got a bonus. So but I only had this little, I know, not that money's everything, but it was fun to have this soft desire, which is what I'm learning more. It's like a soft desire. Wouldn't it be nice? And hey, I think that sounds like a good idea. And then I just didn't really think about it. Then I was like, you know, this is what's happened. But I had a small CD that I would listen to over and over again. And then, like I said, years till I went to, so I had a very slow kind of integration. It was more like I pulled from them what I wanted rather than it was all presented to me initially. So I think that that makes a difference. Yeah.
I think for me, I think somehow maybe I finally released the resistance when I got into my university. There's a lot of freedom that I allowed in my life. So I just let it all in, from, as I said, going to meditation classes and exploring as much and finding as if like it was my altar, it was my temple, that particular section of the library. I would sit down on the floor and I would pick up whichever book, and they were all related to vibrations and thought turning to things. But of course, the first book that I could understand was Louise Hay's You Can Heal Your Life. So from there onwards, I picked up whatever. Like I was the only one, of course, in an engineering college, the library, when you would look at the book at the end, I was the only one who had issued it in like 3 years or 4 years. And I think now if you go back to that section, you will only see my initials on as like I have read all the books there. So it all came to me like suddenly. But then again, eventually I learned that it's channeled, but I was not so uncomfortable with that idea. It felt natural or understandable. And the thing is, as you said, that you can just accept this as pure knowledge. And, you know, if you don't think about, for some people, it could be weird maybe that it's channeled, but all the knowledge, it sounds so wholesome, so practical, so true, so reliable every single time. So, you know, it's just something I accept now as like absolute truth, universal truth. So
that's a good word, wholesome. I like that word. That's a good, yeah, it does feel wholesome. Yeah.
Yeah.
No harm. Their intention seems to be for the greater good. Whenever somebody brings up another teacher or another technique, they're very soft about it. They say life is a buffet. Don't even take everything we say 100%. You have to choose You never have to come to another event, read another thing. You never, you don't, this isn't something, we want you to take these ideas and then go out in the world. And you don't ever need to come back to this. You have your own source, your own connection to source. And so what is more wonderful and empowering and wholesome than that?
And still the message keeps propagating on its own. Still the message keeps propagating on its own, like through the people, because it is wholesome. Not that they're trying to push the agenda, it's just naturally happening.
Right, people are finding it, because when I first, I don't know what it was like in the 80s. I think first she did phone call conversations, right? They had people in their living room. And then they started doing events, because they were already, with Jerry Hicks, and he already had a successful business. They didn't do it for the money. They already were set, established, because he had a sort of sales or motivational speaking business, I think, if that's correct, something like that. I'm helping people to run their businesses and start businesses and make money. Using, what's that author's name? Think and Grow Rich. What's that?
Napoleon Hill.
Napoleon Hill. Yeah. So I think he based his training on Napoleon Hill's book, Think and Grow Rich, which apparently Napoleon Hill was speaking about vibration, not just think, but it was vibration. But for some reason, the word vibration wasn't allowed by the publishers. Or something like that. Right. So, yes. But none of us want it to be too easy. Like, I like to think we came into this physical experience and we wanted to, you don't want to watch a movie or read a book that's so clear who done it, right? You want a little bit of, mystery and discovery along the way. I was curious about the channeling thing, because by the time I realized it was channeled, I already had such personal experiences, like I described a few of them here, that I was like, channeled, schmanneled, whatever. I didn't know it was channeled, but I don't know if that bothers me, because I'm a little bit of a hippie sort of out there. I'd sort of explored some things like Reiki and those kind of things, and crystals. I don't even remember what they were, because they were sort of like stepping stones, right? Scaffolding. It was whatever I had access to at the time. But I had a feeling there was, I guess the first book I remember was the Urantia book, URANTIA, urantia.org, Urantia book. And that has information from another source, and talks about how we have an internal indwelling thought adjuster that wants to guide us, kind of like what Abraham will call the inner being. So, and they talk about their explanation of reality and the hierarchy of levels of God. And it's for someone who has a scientific mind. My background's in public speaking, and I enjoy science and technology, but when I go to those meetings, everybody was sort of a introvert scientific person, because the book is huge. This Urantia book thing is huge. And, but it might be something you or some other folks would enjoy, but that's where I started. And I was like, oh, a thought adjuster. Interesting, because Catholic Church would teach like a guardian angel, something like that. So I thought, oh, instead of someone looking out for me, there's someone that can communicate with me, and maybe is within me and communicating with me. So that's how I kind of was like, oh, that's interesting. That probably was the first, I remember sort of breaking the seal. And that would have been in 88, 89, probably. But I want to get into the manifesting the boyfriend. So, because I have a manifesting the husband story. And here, here's what I think is similar to what happened with you. Let's see what you think. So I had decided let me back up. I had a wonderful experience, I don't know what to call it, with, I was using the sun as like a permission slip to connect with myself more fully. That's why I have like paintings I've done of the sun and things. I had this like, when I lived in an ashram, they would call it like an expansive heart opening experience. It was like, it felt like a paradigm shift, maybe paradigm with a lowercase p, not a capital P. I don't know, a real quantum leap, but this was like an opening or something. I felt like the significant experience. I allowed stuff in, and I connected it with looking at the sun and appreciating the sun in a way I hadn't before. And I would joke around that the sun was my beloved, that I just felt just amazing and appreciative when I would make time to go look at the sun during the day. And I would even like, when you're in love and you just kind of look at everything, like the shadows, and the shadows look beautiful, and the way the light goes through the glass and all that stuff. So, and I was living on an ashram for 3 years, and during what was the end of that time, but I didn't know it was coming to the end of the time. I had this idea that I just wanted to connect with my beloved. Like, enough of this nonsense. I need to, I reached out, like, mentally, and I was meditating in my room. I wanted to reach out to my beloved, which I saw for myself was like here, and I wanted to reach up to my beloved. And then I had this idea, so it was a strong desire. Like, somehow I wanted to, if I feel this way about this, if I can allow myself to feel this way, and by then I knew the Abraham Hicks material, if I can allow myself to feel this way about a physical thing, a son, I wanted to have a flesh, blood, and bone person in my life to feel this way about. And while I was pondering that, I had the idea that rather than saving my love, sort of like a miser, for this beloved, that I really should just love everyone. And I would love everyone, and maybe I would get to my beloved and maybe I wouldn't, but that love should be expressed rather than contained and saved. So in that moment, I had this experience of loving everyone. Like, I felt like a nuclear blast that went out from my being, and then it went around the planet. And for a moment, I did love everyone. Like, it was, myself included, like love. It was just like, ooh. And then even when it was over, I still felt, it was so powerful. I felt like it almost like lifted me up to be where I think my beloved were, kind of felt, I don't know how to describe it energetically, like, rather than seeking my beloved, I loved everyone, and that allowed my cork to rise, maybe Abraham would say. And that, I know the date because that was a date that there was a special ceremony on the ashram. It was a very important date on the ashram. I wasn't at the ceremony. I felt compelled to go be by myself and then I had this experience. And that date was April 15th. And that date is the day that my husband calls his birthday, is his birthday. Now, I tell him that I actually created him on April 15th, and somehow it went back in time, and then he has memories of being a baby, blah, blah, blah. But yeah, no, he was created on April 15th on the year that's the day he was born. And then in some kind of science fiction fantasy movie that would happen. And then, but after that experience, I just let it go. So that's April 15th. He and I met on June 12th. So 2 months later, May to June. And during that time, a close friend of mine at the ashram was interested in dating and looking at different ways they could date, whether they meet someone at the ashram or a dating app, or letting people know they were interested in a relationship. So I decided, well, I'll let people know I'm interested in a relationship. But that's, I didn't do very much.
Yeah.
And then on June 12th, I got to meet my husband, and 7 weeks later, we were married. So, yeah.
Within 7 weeks. Wow.
7 weeks, yeah. So, and he was starting to talk about it during the second week that we knew each other. And so it was like, whoop. And I'm like, when I found out his birthday early on was April 15th, I went, wait a minute. That's the day I had that experience. So I think I had this strong desire like you. And then I somehow let it go, because it was just like, to me, it was just gone, not gone, but it had this expression, and then it kind of relaxed. And then I just sort of was like, oh, I'll help my friend with this dating thing. Kind of, Bashar would call it taking action on your highest excitement. So I was interested in relationships and dating. So I took profile pictures for this person to help them with their dating thing. And I was sort of engaged in that world. I was acting in the world and expressing myself, wanting a relationship. So what I'm curious for you, Sanjula, is you have that strong desire. And that was the day that you pulled him in, the plane touched down.
Yes.
You brought him on the tarmac.
Yes.
But I'm curious, what are you aware of your, then how did you allow it in? What do you think led up to between the time he landed and your allowing to your meeting?
I think that's what even I wonder sometimes, because first of all, it was the clear decision that I made. I think decision is also a very pure vibration, because there's no I want it, but, and this is a desire, but a decision is clear that this is something that I desire, or this is not it. Like, I very clearly knew what I did not want, but And I knew it for a while, but now that day, that particular day when he landed, I knew that I have to shift to something else. I have to find what I deserve. Not even find, but I knew that I deserve something better.
Right.
And I think that, as for me, I think that lifted my cork up. So I think contrast always helps you with the clarity. I mean, as long as we don't stay in the contrast, we move.
Right.
We move to the clarity that the step one brings you. So that was, I think, a big thing for me, which I knew that this is enough, onto something new that I deserve. Not that I was looking for someone and I had no idea who the other person would be, but I knew I deserved better. And so I got involved in the work that I was doing, and I allowed myself to be present in the work that I was doing, but I did not have this, I must find the person, I
Right.
must look for the relationship. It was just a done deal back then. I was out of the way. And wasn't even a
Mhm.
conscious, deliberate thing. I was learning about the law of attraction back then. I did not, I mean, as a beginner of the law of attraction, initially I would do that, okay, I must manifest this, so I'm going to do all the processes around this area or this manifestation. So I didn't even do that, okay, I must manifest the perfect relationship, because I didn't have any hurry in my mind. I just knew that on to the next chapter, clarity about what I wanted. So
Oh, I have a
the
question.
funny, yes,
I have a question. The Were you in a relationship that was not what you wanted? Like you were living in a house with not enough closets?
yes.
And then when you made the clear decision of what you wanted and deserved and claimed that, were you no longer in that relationship?
Um, it wasn't, no, it wasn't something that, it wasn't a breakup, so to say, with that person. It was a decision in my mind that this is done, because just because of the logistics of it. He was not in this, it was a long distance relationship. So
Oh, okay.
I had decided that, okay, this is
Okay.
over.
And so the person wasn't up close to you. And once you made that decision, then you could control how you interacted with them. And you were no
Exactly.
longer, so your time wasn't spent, oh, we were supposed to Skype tonight, or where's their email? You didn't have a lot of thoughts that were conflicted about, I want their email. Why didn't they email sooner? Why didn't they say this? You didn't have a lot of thoughts of what you didn't want
No
because you
split
had made
end.
that decision, right? So you made that decision, so you sort of shut yourself down, saying that this is a non-issue for me, this person,
Yes.
whatever they think on their side. They might have still thought they had a girlfriend for a little while until it became
Yeah.
clear, right?
Yeah.
But you were very clear where you were, which is really all that matters. Okay, because I wondered if you didn't have, there was, to me there had to be some sort of a clearing where
Mhm.
you, just
I could
thinking
make.
about how the laws,
Mhm.
how it works, that you made a decision, plus you didn't go back and think,
Yes.
it really doesn't have enough closets. Why did I pick a place that didn't have enough closets? You had to just be like, the next house I'm getting will have closets and a kitchen and a jacuzzi and a did it and a maid and a whatever, and and you put it
I do.
all, beautiful view, and it'll be free and it'll be in a beautiful location, and you just claimed it,
Mm.
and then that was it. And then you shifted now your focus, which might have been divided during your work and during your school, was much more clear because you weren't torturing yourself with those
Yeah.
distracting thoughts
I
about, why isn't this happening? I don't like this. There's not enough closets, kind of thing.
Exactly. No split
Right.
energy anywhere through. It was just clear
Mm.
decision, done with this. So that's what, like, you, as soon as you shift from the contrast, I think the universe is just waiting to,
Yeah.
rush on all those beautiful things. So I didn't
Mhm.
have this urgency to move on to the next thing. I didn't have the
Right, right,
urgency to
right.
this, none of that. And as you said, Sheila, I was just focused on the closets, that I need more closets. This is
Yeah.
something, the next house is going to
Right.
have more.
Yeah.
But turns out the next house had all of these things that you described. It was big, it had a maid, it was with the view and everything. Like the things that, throughout my life I had decided that, these are the things that I like. And the thing,
Mhm.
just as you said, you guys decided so soon to get married. That was crazy for me also, how soon we fell in love with each other. Of
Mhm.
Because he was there for 6 weeks of the program, and in the initial 2 weeks I was focused on the program till I got to know him. And then we fell in love so deep so soon. This is something that was a big surprise to even us, because people around were also doubtful whether, wait, this is a long distance relationship, or you can have your fun, that's all right and everything, and because it's gonna fly back. But then something between us, we knew it, that this is the connection. And that's something that I think I it's easy to take it for granted sometimes, but this example, I love to remind myself of this example, that universe knows the exact ingredients that you want of the particular thing that you want, and it can bring to you from anywhere in the world, from Germany and from Finland or from wherever it might be, whatever you want, it can come to you. So I think
There's no constraints of time and space.
at all, and no holding back also from the universe, that, oh, you just asked for the closets. No, you take the 100 more features that you love, you
Hmm.
prefer, right? So
Whatever we
everything,
can, whatever we can allow in.
exactly,
Yeah.
whatever we can allow in. So that was one of the first manifestations that I had, but it wasn't, again, I was still getting to learn about the law of attraction. As I said, I did not sit down to manifest this with
Wow.
the processes. I did not. It just, I just
Right.
allowed it. And since then, after that, I started learning more about law of attraction. And then, initially you become the student of all the processes. Okay, this is how it's done. And since I learned from so many different authors and different books, they have many processes which are all true, all valid. But then, as an engineering student, maybe I was just putting, the process to use, being very studious about it. So I wanted to manifest. The next thing, logical thing for me, was to go visit him in Germany. So my next thing on my manifestation board, so to say, was to manifest a trip to Germany. And for me, the path of least resistance was to get an internship in that country, so that I could spend a good amount of time there and I could spend time with him. And that was just the easiest way. I did not tell my father. Yeah, you wanted to?
Oh, can you, so with an Indian passport, you could
Yeah.
have visited Germany for how
Yes.
long? Is it the same? US has like a 3 month, um,
You have to apply for a particular visa, which is a national
ooh,
visa, because
oh, okay.
you have a travel visa. So if you have a travel visa, that's just for 60 days, or 90 days. That's for 90 days, again, three
Okay.
months.
Okay.
If you work there as an intern in any capacity, then there's a different visa that you have to apply for. So there are
Right.
little other processes involved with the university, which is corresponding and things like that. So
But
that was,
you didn't want to do a travel visa because an American, I think it's just included in our passport. Our passport is our travel visa, essentially. I think that's
yeah.
how it sort of is set up, because for most countries we can go for, those with an American passport can go to most countries for 90 days. So you had in your head, well, yes, I could go for a vacation for a week because you're in school. I want to have
Yeah.
another question. What's the in India, what's the percentage of male female in engineering? Is it
Um,
50-50 or?
there are more males, definitely. I would say there are at least, I would say 60-40, definitely.
Okay. Okay.
And in the
That's
typical,
good. That's good.
yeah, I mean, it's not too bad also, but then if you go into core mechanical engineering classes, then you would see a handful of girls and like a
Mm,
whole bunch of guys, looking towards those girls and trying to make something happen. So the ratio
yeah.
in those proper core engineering courses were quite skewed.
Because
But
I just wanted to have in my mind, here you are at this school, university, and you're exploring these different things, which in the Indian culture, they have uh, the little bit I know about Hindu and multiple gods
yeah,
and a spiritual connection.
yeah.
Like it's something that seems to be more talked about in the culture, like having a
Mm,
connection. But then the downside of that might be it's such a specific structure. Like
yeah.
everybody's open to connecting with the gods, but
Mm.
it's Ganesh and Lakshmi. And whereas if you start saying you have your own Lakshmi or whatever, that
Yes.
might be a little, that's where it might get interesting. And then I was picturing you going into the library, and I just wondered, here you are, such a unique being, and you've chosen this field.
Mm.
That challenge is not a field for the faint-hearted. You have to be focused and on it and in alignment to even have the language of math make sense. You have to be, I think, in alignment for that. And then there you are in the library picking out the book. I just wanted to sort of know for myself what the male female ratio, what that experience was like for you, because then you're unique and then unique and then unique, in
Yes.
this culture. But of course you wouldn't have it any other way. And then you're exploring these different things, but you hadn't, I like how you say you just, you didn't do a technique except you allowed it,
Mm.
connecting with your boyfriend. But that's what all the techniques are trying to get us to do, is to trick ourselves and get ourselves out of our own way and get us to allow it in some way. And you just cut right to the chase and we're able to just allow it. I love that. And so now you have your trip to Germany, and I love how you were like, I could go for vacation, but I want what I want, and I want an internship so I can have my school,
Yeah.
a legal stay in the country, and the school, because you have parents and stuff that care about, are you continuing your
Yeah.
school, right?
Yes.
And so you could do your school, and you can be in another country and explore that, and you can explore this relationship with your boyfriend. So you wanted what you wanted. So that's where we are in your story.
Yes, and so that was again my path of least resistance, and I had not told my father yet about it, as I said, because I wanted to be 100% certain after visiting the country for myself, also to be sure of the culture and everything, so that I can then confidently tell my parents about it. My mom and my brother knew about it, so my next thing to manifest was a internship to Berlin, and so that
Mm.
time I was a bit into Reiki, so
To Berlin, again, that's very specific. He lives in
very
Berlin. I want to go to Berlin, not just an internship in Germany, but an
yes,
internship at this time for your school timing
exactly.
in Berlin. Okay.
And you're talking about uniqueness. The whole idea of doing this was so unique because no one else in my college, in my course, would try to go outside India because everyone would either do an internship directly in the same college already. So there are professors who are working on their projects, so you can just attach yourself to them,
Right.
or you could work with a company and get some experience there, or maybe you can go to some other university in another city or state and get experience there. But I was the only one. I mean, there were exchange programs there where you could actually go and, they would organize that. I tried to go through that, but it didn't work out. But then I was relentless in the sense that this is something that I want and I'm going to go for it. And that came to me, this the kind of download came to me where I was probably in a receptive mode that I don't have to depend on an organization to get me the exchange program. I want to go meet my boyfriend. I want to spend time with him. I want to explore Germany. And the internship would be a path of least resistance for me to take care of everything. So I want to focus on Berlin. So let me just apply to all the universities that are there and look at the professors and the work they're doing. I'll just reach out to them through the email and let's see how this goes. So I haven't done any research that this is something that you should do while you're applying for. So this is a direct download from like my inner being that you should just do this. And so I start applying. I start reaching out to these professors, and I say, okay, this is a part of my course. I have to do an internship. I will love it to do it here. This is my profile. And out of the 6, 7 people that I reached out to, one of them replied. And so there's the professor and the student working under her, the master thesis student. She reached out to me and she said, "Can we have a Skype call?" And I said, "Sure, let us talk." And she spoke to me. So I was preparing myself. So again, typically, if you go through a structured organization, they would tell you, have your CV ready, be prepared for the interview questions and everything. She and I had just a breezy conversation where she asked me like the basic things. Like imagine if you were applying for a degree in English, she is asking you, can you write down ABC? And I said, yes, I can. I know the simplest of stuff. So I was applying for a biotechnology internship. So she asked me the basic stuff. Are you familiar with this? And I, yes, of course. And so she said, okay, so you can come to our university from this to this. And it was that easy.
Wow.
It was that easy.
Wow. I love
Like
that.
that.
That is awesome. I love that. So I think that is great. And it's easy, which I know is your mantra. Life is easy. Life's supposed to be easy. Life can be easy. Life is easy. And I think just to peel back the technique a little bit, when you were like, you tried the traditional way, what people say is the process, like go to an organization that's offering this exchange. And then you were like, well, this doesn't feel good. And you knew enough that it should feel good. It should feel easy, like innately that is part of your being and part of what you want to bring into this physical experience, I would think. I think that's seems to be one of your intentions. And then you, like you say, you got this download, but then you, right before the download, or at least when you were speaking, you said you thought about, I want to be with my boyfriend. I want to explore this. And you did all the whys. So Abraham would say what we want and why we want it. So
Yes.
that sounds like that's what you did. I want this and this and this because of this and this and this. And all you focused on is why, because I want to be there, because this is my path of least resistance, because this would be easy, because this would solve a lot of things, because I get to explore the culture, because I get to continue my education. I have all these things in motion, and why shouldn't I have all this?
Yes.
And I think that with the focusing on the why you want it, and then somehow you also relaxed about it, you know, we're able to, then in a moment, you got, whenever you were relaxed, you know, because you already had sort of claimed, you already, I guess, elevated your vibration to, you know, not elevated so much as maybe it wasn't fragmented, right? You kind of got it really straight. And you were like, here's my vibration on this topic. Is that maybe optimistic, maybe on that emotional guidance scale, you know, maybe it was optimistic, I think, or hopeful,
Yes.
or somewhere more, there's like
Again,
content.
I think it's again this feeling of decision that this is something that I want. I am going for this. And
you had no,
again,
so resistance free. So it was
exactly,
resistance free.
it came to a point where it was resistance free just before the download that I had. So again,
Yeah.
after going through the contrast of the organization and everything, I think it comes to, for me, again, looking back at it, no split energy, pure decision. I'm going for this. I want this. This is something, and very clear focus on why I want this. Because and every time I would write it down. So in Reiki also, you do it, you know, pass Reiki energy to the desire that you have. So back then, that was one of the modalities that I was kind of playing with. So all my pieces of paper that I would write in and I was do Reiki on it was, I'm getting to stay close to my boyfriend, and I'm, you know, enjoying my trip here, and I'm enjoying my internship here. And that is so beautiful. Again, somewhere in that clarity, in that purity of the thought, in the purity of the desire, in that decision place, you know, I allow that to happen. And then there were other components also, because it came so easily. My parents were also a bit skeptical that, what is this? I mean, how in the world would this random opportunity go up for you all the way from Germany, and no one else is doing this? Why don't you just, you know, join another university here, right up here? So there again, I could have focused on trying to convince my parents. I could have focused on how they could, whatever, you know, I could have again split my energy, but my energy was focused on what's next. What is it? Okay, I'm going to focus on the media document.
You were unstoppable. There was too much momentum. You'd gotten too much of what you wanted. You believed you could have whatever you wanted, and you believed the parents, they'd come around, because you're only going to pick someone that's going to be good for you and the family. It's going to be uplifting. It's going to be uplifting for you and for everyone. So you didn't even listen to that nonsense. That was like some old echoes. But I love that you shared about the Reiki, the pieces of paper. So you did some things that were whatever your techniques you were using then to keep yourself focused on what you wanted and why you wanted it, and in a, like you would call it, a decision point. This is what I want, and this is focused on it, and then you got the idea, why don't I branch out on my own? Which is like crazy. No one is saying that. Everyone's going the traditional conservative route. And then not only do you get a response, 1 in 7, that's pretty awesome sauce. That's, you know, get one, and then you get the right one who's like, yeah, we'll have a little convo. So A, B, and C, you good with that? All right, because they have a spot they need to fill.
Exactly.
They wanted to find the right person. They were sitting there doing their own, I want to find the right person. I want it to be easy. I want it to be someone that's going to be here for the long haul, that's going to improve our whatever. And they knew when they matched with you, that was it. And so it was easy. But your parents must have been like, what? Because you barely even said it, and it was done. And you're like, no, it's already done. And you're moving on to, like you say, the next steps.
I told them after the interview, because I was reaching out to all these people.
Good for you.
Yes, I again, because that would split my energy. I told them after I had the conversation that, okay, there's this opportunity that showed up, and they want to, you know, allow me in. And of course, my parents were playing a big role. So my dad would be funding the trip. That was another thing that I wanted to manifest, travel funds. So the interesting thing with how that kind of, you know, how things are always working out for you so beautifully was that I kept my focus on what's next for me. My dad, meanwhile, tried to contact the head of department of one of the prestigious universities here in India, like doing it on his own. So he reached out to the head of department of biotechnology and one of the premium institutes in India. So like everyone would know that college, like it's the MIT. Yeah. So he reached out to that HOD and he said, so this is the opportunity that my daughter is just came up with, and should I, can you convince her to like stay here? And so the HOD goes through the opportunity, gets to know about the professor, and he's like, do not think twice. Let her go for this. This
I love
professor is
that.
world renowned. This university is world renowned. And Sheila, actually, I didn't know all of these things. There are 50 Nobel laureates that have gone from that university. Albert Einstein was a professor in this university.
Wow.
And like, this is such a prestigious university. And my focus was to have fun with my boyfriend, like explore the country, travel, meet his family,
Yeah,
all of
but
those things.
also in your vortex is your career and your da-da-da, that's it, but you haven't really, that
Yeah,
wasn't necessarily focused, but the vortex didn't forget
it did.
because
And
you
it
had
took
so much momentum with your desire and then you're allowing, you could let in a lot. That's awesome.
And so, and the funny thing is that I could have not convinced my father had I tried with my
Yes.
actions and my words, but with my vibration being strong towards what I wanted, he attracted this conversation with the head of the department, and only he could convince him to let me go.
And
And not, yeah,
was that great how your father, you know, brilliant man in his own right, I'm sure, very bright. And he's like, so now you've taken it upon yourself to do something unusual out of the box and
yeah,
contact
yeah,
someone. So he's
yeah,
like, but he's pushing against sort of what seems like
yeah,
from the outside, right? He's pushing against you leaving. He doesn't want you to leave, doesn't want you to go, doesn't want you to go,
yeah.
wants to find a way to keep you to stay, but doesn't want you to go. But really, he's focused on you not going, but he's focused on you going and trying to see if
Wait,
there's anything he can keep. So of course, he's going to attract information that is about you going.
yes.
But it also works well for you because it's from, like you say, from a reputable
But
source, that credible source. He doesn't have to worry. It's trusted. And it
so
helped
at
you
the
know
end,
there was even a cherry on the top, all these things about that you didn't even know.
I didn't know at all. I had no
If you would have
idea.
known that, you might have been a little stressed, but because you
Yes,
would have been like, it's so important, but you were like, oh, it's this conversation. It's easy. Oh, look at that. It's done. Okay, I'm in. That
actually,
is awesome.
I would have split my energy then. I would have
Yeah,
tried to prepare
right.
more. And the thing is, at the core of course, what my dad wanted was my well-being because he was not sure of where I'm going. So after attracting this conversation with the HOD, he also was assured that, okay, fine, this is not a scam. She's going to a proper university. And that was my dad being taken care of. And my mom, of course, as a mom, had concerns because no one from my family had traveled abroad. And she knew
Oh,
about my
wow.
boyfriend. She knew that he would be there taking care of me. But then she, of course, had her own concerns. So this was my dad being taken care of by the universe. My mom went to her group of friends and told them and was a bit upset about it. And her friends like chimed in, yeah, yeah, why doesn't she stay here and all of that. But the one friend that is the closest to her, there was one friend who like had her lips sealed. She didn't say anything the entire meeting. She comes back home with my mom to drop her. And then she sits my mom down and she tells her that do not stop her. Let her go. I've traveled to Berlin before. It's a beautiful city, and I think all the children should have the opportunity to travel abroad, and all of these things. So she convinced my mom,
Wow.
and it was perfect because it's her best friend. So you know how the universe matches the perfect components because she couldn't have convinced my dad. It had to be an HOD of a premier institute, and the
Right.
HOD of a premier institute could not convince my mom. It had to be her best friend telling her and giving her the consolation. And so that worked out for me pretty easily.
Of
There was
course.
no way I could have organized that. There was absolutely no way
Yeah.
I could have done anything about it. So that's how like
Surprised and delighted is the Abraham phrase. And so you were like, oh, isn't that nice? And not like surprise, like, oh my, not like that kind of surprise. Surprise. Oh, pleasantly surprised. Oh, isn't that nice? And delighted. Oh, that's fabulous. Oh, and that's interesting. And oh, how that worked out. And what I love, like for me, the key message here is, well, one of the keys, there's so much going on, but you did not split your energy. You've said that several times. And so I like to remember that for myself, encourage others to do it, even though it's tempting to maybe, and you notice your mom's best friend, she didn't split her energy either. She knew to have that conversation in private with your mother. Because if she brought that up in that gathering where there was so much momentum about negative, they were all saying back to your mother what she was already thinking and reflecting. And then her friend got her alone and had personal experience with it, was able to relate to her on that level. But not splitting our energy is so key. Even though it's tempting to try to appease someone, or like you're saying, cultural, to divide it, you were so aware that I'm just going to focus on this. Yes. And this is what I can focus on my thoughts and what I'm containing, and everything else around here is going to have to work out. And it totally did. And that is awesome. Awesome. Six, you reached out to 7 places, little time online. And you didn't bother to Google what's the right way when you're reaching out as an independent. You had the idea. You were like, oh yeah, I'll just reach out. How much effort is that? Not a lot of effort, right?
Yeah.
Oh, I got a response. Oh, we're going to have a call. Oh, that went well. Oh, and then I like that you didn't tell them, because I think Jerry had said, keep your ideas to yourself until they're fully, baked, so to speak. He didn't say that, but so you kept it to yourself, saying, well, when it's something, and you probably thought to yourself, when, right? When this, because I'm excited now, I got this email or whatever you got from the person that indicated they wanted a meeting. You could have told people, and you probably told your boyfriend, that because you guys were going to be talking about the positive side of all these wonderful things, so you kept that momentum going. But you didn't tell anybody that wouldn't be excited, because it was just in the very potential early, stages. Yeah. And so you wanted it to come, but you had the idea when. That's really, I think, more powerful than if I get it.
Yes.
If I get it, I'll tell them. It's different to think when it happens. So do you think you were thinking when it happens, I'll tell them?
Definitely.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. They had an idea that I wanted to go abroad. Probably they had a general idea, but it wasn't, because when you're trying to convince other people, it's just that you're also not convinced 100% within yourself.
Right.
You're thinking about convincing other people who will support you, and then you feel more firm in your own decision. So first you have to gain that. So it takes a while to not to be clear in your decision, to be clear in your energy, and to not split your energy. You could have your doubts within yourself, but if you have contrast, it will always lead to the clarity. It will always lead to that pure place of that clear decision. So it took me a while, but of course there was that time when this momentum was so strong that I knew I was going. I just knew that I have to go, and I knew that things would line up for me. And it was one of the biggest experiences, conscious, deliberate experiences that I ever had, because I got to stay very close to my boyfriend, literally like living together almost. And I had this perfect university, of course, which in itself, when I came back to my university, they were mind blown. They said, the stuff that you've done in 5 months is the stuff that master students do in 2 years. And I was having fun. I was having fun there, And so, and these were my professors who were like, oh my God, this is such an amazing opportunity. They called me back to speak to other students and share my experience of how to get into universities and stuff like that. But it was, and I would laugh at it, because I to friends, I would say that I wanted to meet my boyfriend. I wanted to go travel. And then I also had the opportunity, and when you would go through an organization, you have fixed working hours. But when I went like this, they were very free. I had this, people put this impression that, okay, Germans are very disciplined and there would be fixed hours, but they were very open and they wanted me to explore. So I had a lot of free days also. So after my work was done, I would just go and explore. I would go and travel. So I traveled to Italy as well. I manifested an opportunity to travel to Italy. Someone offered to go there and, stay in their house for free and travel around. And so many wonderful things happened then. So one of which, another manifestation that I had, so that's when I started getting into Hay House also a lot. So I started, not exactly Hay House, but they had a Hay House World Summit. So all the authors of Hay House would come together for, I think, 4 weeks and have a series of interviews, and you can just tune into the interviews, and of course it's going to be high vibing. So I started dedicated some time of my day to that. So whenever I would commute to work, that would be around 40 minutes of travel time, I would tune into one of the interviews. So I would dedicate that time to focusing on feeling good, or focusing on these high vibing, ideas and thoughts. So one of the desires that I had, that this was a trip that was funded by my father, I wanted to have a scholarship so that I could, give the money back, or just, be funded. So I had, again, as in the Reiki piece of paper, you write a piece of paper, what you have, the wish, and then you focus on what you want, and you kind of visualize that the energy is going through that. So that was something that I was doing back then. So another desire was to manifest a scholarship of a certain amount. Already I had no accommodation fee, so I also manifested almost free accommodation. But in general, I wanted to, like, you know, have some
So
scholarship.
accommodation would be your place to live and then food. Is that both room and board?
Yeah. Yeah. So the
Okay.
room, the board, I think I had enough for that. So food I would also take care of sometimes, but the accommodation in general was one of the bigger expenses. So that was
So you had a
really,
place to live. So you had
yeah,
the
perfect.
internship in Berlin, close to your boyfriend, and you had a set place to live.
A
And what
beautiful
was
house.
the,
Yeah.
for what?
It was a beautiful house. It wasn't like it was, I was welcomed in a home. There were other people also, so but it was just very,
Yeah,
very beautiful house. It wasn't just like a room or something. It was a beautiful house as well. So
right.
yeah.
Wow, that's awesome. So because is that sense of community or getting to know people, and were there people from other countries as well that were in the house or just from Germany?
They were just from Germany. That's they helped me a lot with my German as well. So yeah, it was just a perfect thing. So that was the next thing that I was looking for, a scholarship. So I was trying to manifest this earlier before the trip, but it didn't work out, so that was fine, never mind. But something inside me clicked. So after I started dedicating this time to this positive hour in the day, there was this conversation that I once had with the master student under whom I was directly working. So there was the professor, there was the master student, and I was the intern under her. So she asked me if I had a scholarship, and I said, no, I don't have a scholarship. And she said, oh, I had no idea. I thought you came on a scholarship, and let me put a word to the professor, and let's see if we can work something out. And I was like,
I have
oh,
I have a question.
yeah,
So, in my understanding of a scholarship, you would have to have that before the internship starts. But somehow,
exactly.
because you're Sunjula,
Yeah.
somehow in your world, you could want the scholarship, be in the internship, and somehow retroactively get the scholarship that then covers everything. Okay.
And the funny thing, so the master student I was working under, she's from Egypt, and she in her university back in Egypt was a professional in getting other people's scholarships. So she was part of an organization that she would work for getting people's scholarships and work for
Your master student, the person you have connections with, just
us.
happens to be
Happens.
like the best, perfect person to get you a scholarship.
Exactly.
Okay. Yeah,
Um,
great. Excellent manifesting.
so she comes up to me and she starts this conversation, and that comes to me as a sign that, when the fruit is kind of like the low hanging fruit, it's kind of getting ripe, because
She
I,
came to you.
yeah, and one of these lunches we were having together, and we were talking about the experiments that we're doing, and then after a while, she's like, so what about the scholarship, if you have a scholarship? So that is a sign from the universe. I feel like, okay, now it's ripe. The thing that I put in
Mm.
the work, it's ripe for plucking. So I was like, oh, okay, something can still happen because I had forgotten about it, honestly speaking. I tried to apply earlier, but I'd forgotten. And then I remember so distinctly this day. So, when I said that the connection with inner being is something that Abraham has gifted me, that is something is so precious because there are moments in my life so far where I've heard my inner being so clearly. I mean, I speak to my inner being on a daily basis. I like just speak out into the air and have a conversation with my inner being. But there are these times where you just hear a block of thoughts so clearly, this well-formed sentence that you have absolutely no doubt that maybe it's your own self that you're saying that. No, it's
Mhm.
from your inner being. So there was this one day after that conversation I had with the master student that I feel the urge, and we are all sitting together in this one common room. I feel the urge to get up and go towards my professor's office. Just like get up and go to the professor's office. And that was so crazy. No one does that. Why would an intern go step, into the professor's office? And the idea in go and speak to her about the scholarship. And I have no idea what to say to her because this is just such a new thought in my mind. And so I still have to get up. I go towards the professor's office, and there's a washroom in between in the corridor. And I just like, I chicken out for a second. I go to the washroom. I'm like, no, I have to think about it. What is this? I can't just like barge into her room. But again, my inner being like literally kicked my ass, like, no, go right now, go right now. So
Mm.
again, I step into the washroom, step out again, go into her, office, and I just like blabber something. I still don't know what it was about, but I'm sure it wasn't about the content of what I say. It was that precise moment, that the perfect timing, that it was ready for me to have that conversation, and she was ready to listen to me. And I shared with her a couple of things, that yeah, I don't have a scholarship and I would love to have one, and my master student was saying I should talk to you, and she said we'll look into it. And then and she was very kind, she was really sweet and kind, and all of those things. So I got out of it and I was like, what was that? I mean, that was like literally, I felt like I was moved by my inner being. And since that day, my entire, the entire office in that professor's area, they were focusing on how they could get me a scholarship. They all started like raking their brains that, okay, maybe we could get her this scholarship, maybe we could like arrange and fix something here so we could get her a scholarship. So I was completely out of the how of this. I completely was not involved. I mean, we would sit in the same common room and I would know that they're sitting and discussing about how they can get me a scholarship. And so I had no part in that, but
Mhm.
it was ready for me to allow. It took me a while to also allow it, to be like, oh my god, this is possible, oh my god, this is happening. And to see that other people are working for me. And it happened, and they found the funniest route. It wasn't even directly a scholarship, but they found a way to redirect some resources that the professor had access to. So she could fund certain people. She could fund certain people in her office, some students, some interns, and they found a way to unlock that, and they just directed that towards me. Like, it was a discussion in the
Wow.
office. They were like, oh, voila, this idea, why don't we do this? And it was like, oh my God, that can work out. And then that happened. So I come back home.
Mm.
I, when I reach India, I see that my bank account has that amount. And after I received that amount, the overall trip that I had to Germany was basically the amount that I spent there would basically be the same as me still staying in India, still going to my university. So there was no added expense. It was just the normal expense I would have just as a normal student studying in India. So basically, it was such a
Mm.
beautifully wrapped gift that was allowed by me. Basically, like, life can be that easy if you start allowing these things to come to you with such ease. So yeah, that
That's so
was.
well. Well, I just want to point out though that even though it was easy, right? Go to your professor in the perfect timing. I've had
Mm,
that feeling as well. I'm sure folks watching this will have had the feeling. I've been compelled, two very dramatic ones to stand out, but it happens day to day. Turn right instead of left, give this gift to someone. Many times it's I'm getting something that's the solution for something that's going to be a problem later, but isn't a problem because I got the thing that's now the solution. I mean, it happens again and again. But I have had times in my life where I have felt, I guess I've described it like, did you ever see the Jim Carrey movie Liar Liar?
yeah, yeah.
There's a movie about him where his child
Can't
makes a
lie.
birthday wish and then he can't tell a lie. So he's compelled to tell the truth. So he's trying to describe the pen, and he's like, he wants to say, even though the pen is blue, he's trying to say it's red or something. So he says, in the end, he has his face, it's written blue, is written all over his face, like the pen is blue, even though he's
Yeah,
trying to say the pen is red, like he's trying to lie. And
yeah.
I have felt times in my life, one involved the comedian Dave Chappelle, and the
Mm,
other involved getting where I have felt compelled to move my body and go and do the same. When I got the job, I was in California, and then I was inspired to go back to Florida. I felt compelled, I was at one job, to get up from where I was to go over to a computer that was, desktop computer that was in the training room at the job I currently have, to go look for another job. So I'm in a training room. Oftentimes training rooms either have trainers and students, or they just have the trainers sort of preparing for the classroom. And I felt compelled to go over and sit at the desktop computer and go onto one of these monster.com, whatever the job site is. And I found two jobs and I applied for them right away. And I was interviewed for both. And then one fell off and then one had the trajectory to continue. But I felt, I was kind of arguing with myself, like when you went into the washroom kind of thing.
yeah.
I got up and I went over, but I was like, what am I doing? I'm at a job and they have IT people, and IT people will probably track. And I just transferred here. And it was all easy and wonderful. I was so happy when I got it, but now I want more. And now I want more and different and better. And this is just a launch pad for the next. But even as I'm talking to myself going, I might get fired for this because they might, and I was just so compelled to do it. And then it was minutes. It was such a short time to see the jobs, post for both of them, one in California, one in Florida, and it was done. And then I was off the computer and I felt a little like I'd been possessed, but not possessed by something scary or outside of myself, but I was influenced to do this thing, which turned out to be an awesome thing. So then that helped me, because I had the Dave Chappelle influence was back in 99, 2000, which I felt compelled to bring him this book. Gary Zukav had written a book called Seed of the Soul. And it was an amazing book, and I felt compelled to bring it to Dave Chappelle, and I'll tell the story at some point in one of my results show things. But the whole way I felt like Jim Carrey, like I felt like I was wanting to do one thing, but I was compelled to do the other. So I had that experience a few years before, and then smaller experiences since then. So when the job thing happened, but I totally get how you were like, I gotta go. And then, what am I doing here? And then I gotta go splash squad. But I gotta go. And you go and you do it. And you do this thing and you stand there and like you say, you just said something. I remember I used to do stand-up comedy and I really wanted to be like in whatever that kind of world was. And I went for an audition in California. You're supposed to have a headshot. You're supposed to have all these official things. You're supposed to have an agent, know people. I just responded to this thing where when I was living in California, they were looking for someone. And I just responded and nothing was perfect. The pictures were terrible. Everything was a mess, but I just responded and I was 2 hours late. And I still got the gig, and it was a televised thing on the Game Show Network. And so now I have like a TV credit, which is, just kind of fun. But you don't have, I hope this encourages people to not be, just follow your inspiration. And look, I love how it worked out for you that you stand there sort of vulnerable to, trusting your inner being, but that was that anchor that you'd wanted and you had enough conversations with your inner being. And enough, the boyfriend happened, the family got convinced, right? I know everybody just heard the story, but it's worth repeating because there's momentum, right? Your dad got convinced, your mom got convinced, everybody's happy. Now you're going along. You're in this beautiful German house. I'm imagining, getting this cultural experience, spending time with your boyfriend. That's unfolding wonderfully. You guys are probably, look how this worked out. So you're keeping that momentum going and really enjoying each other. And you know about the Abraham stuff, so you can approach a relationship with, I like you pretty much, let's see how it goes, and taking responsibility for your good mood, saying, oh, okay, well, maybe I'm working my way up the scale, but it, rather than blaming someone else for my feelings. It's just somewhere on the spectrum. It's understandable, but I don't have to stay there. I want to be up in these things. And so that's unfolding. And then this scholarship thing, and I love how the other people are working on it. And you're just getting to do your breakthrough work. You're not taking, you're just still doing your thing and it's all happening. And people want to, of course, because it's like if you have a baby that's not comparing you to a child, but I mean, if you just a happy baby always gets I want to play with the baby. I want to pick up the baby, a happy being. But a baby that's crying or a person, an adult, oh my gosh, let an adult cry or be upset or be angry. People avoid them, lock them up, get away from me. So you were just this bright being that people wanted to somehow be involved with. And then somebody probably had the great idea, we're trying to get the scholarships. Doesn't the school have any money? Somebody probably said something like, don't you have money in your budget, or isn't there money? And this money that professor had all this time. But because of this connection, this authentic connection, you standing there vulnerable, just being blah, 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 I'm going to let my inner being speak to your inner being. And however it goes, it goes. Well, I guess I didn't lose my internship. I guess I'll go back to my station now. And because she said, I'm on it, or I'll look into it. Yeah. And you trusted, that's all that, you didn't need this whole soliloquy from her about she's going to do it. She's on it. You felt it. You're like inner beings. They did their thing, or however you looked at it. And you went back and did your work. And then all this happened around you, and somebody in that momentum, which you'd been fostering this positive momentum, going to Italy, having these experiences. Why not? You know, you're first person in your family to travel abroad, and now you're
Yeah.
not just going to the place where you have your internship, your job.
Yeah.
You're frivolously, you know, fun, enjoying yourself, and going to Italy and other places and having these experiences. So you're keeping that momentum, and somebody says, "Oh, the money's already there." How easy is that? Yeah.
So easy. And it's so delightful to again bask in that and remember that how, and I mean, all of that just reminds me that there is this, uh, I don't know, this huge army of non-physical forces working for us, knowing exactly at what point, we need to say what, because the work that we have to do
Mhm.
is just tiny. Maybe like I just have to be present there and just say something that my inner being is
Exactly.
guiding me to say. But the arrangement of the resources and the funds and whatever it is, that's all taken care of. Like the
Yeah.
conversation happened before, like my inner being took care of that with the professor's inner being, and that was all arranged. So they just had to move our physical bodies to make it start happening. And
Isn't that
they
funny?
probably, isn't that like so beautiful to remember that? And there was a point where, right now it's a fun story, but there was a point, of course, when I was looking forward to
Yeah.
having that money, right? And it's just now a nice reaffirmation that that's how things
Right.
work, and
Right.
you just have to let go of it. I actually had let go of that, the resistance. I had not let go of the desire, but I was not focused on it anymore. I was focused
Right.
on German. I was focused on what I'm doing on a day-to-day basis. And I think everything that we want, and that's something that I recently, now I'm learning or internalizing even more, is that everything that we want, every single thing that we want is taken care of. It is not just taken care of, it is done. That is something that, and now that I'm sharing this story, this is almost a couple of years back. That was the time when it was a big thing to tell my parents about it and all of those things. Just last month, this December 2019, my entire family, and that was another dream that I had, to take them abroad for the first time. All of us went to Germany. All of us got to stay with his family. His family got to know my family, and they gelled along so beautifully. And that's something that I've been wanting for a couple of years now. And that came true in the beautiful manner. And this, I mean, it's funny to even look back and remember, oh, there was a point where one of my desires was to introduce my boyfriend to my dad. And now my dad here, now that he's back home, he can't wait for his family to come. So in his mind, he's just planning, because there's just so much beauty that is added. Like, you think that you want these three things, but the universe remembers the 3,000 things, the tiniest of pieces that you like, and it brings all of that. So it wasn't just that I wanted my parents to love and accept my boyfriend, and not just I wanted his family to love and accept me. Our families got along so well. Like they found friendships in each other, and they can't wait to see each other again. So it's just that, and that story, but when talking about burden, it just now it's making me feel so appreciative of how far I have come and how
Yeah.
many more manifestations I've had since, and especially how special that was. So I feel like at that point, one of the desires was my to make my family go to Germany, for my family to get to know him, and now it's all done. And not just done, it's all taken care of so beautifully. So everything
Mm.
that we desire, that this is something that, again, now recently, when I heard my inner being, I had a question to my inner being when I came back
Mm.
from Germany. In 2019, I had set all these intentions that this is what I want. I want to travel. I want to be myself more. I want to do all of these things, and everything manifested. So I was very easy about it. But when I came back now this year and I asked my inner being, so how important is goal setting, or how important is it to write my intentions and all of those things? So my inner being, so I went into this, not that I asked a question and I went into a trance like sleep, but this was something that I asked for. And then, after a couple of days, I was feeling very like nap like. I wanted to take a nap. I wanted to just sleep and lie down for a while in the afternoon. And I lie down, and I could not fall asleep, but I had no thoughts. So I was in this place, kind of a zone where I didn't have
Mm.
any thoughts. And this block of thought, again, this clarity that came down from my inner being came to me, that made me understand that you are not setting goals by writing them down right now. Because my stance, at least that time, was that, okay, inner being, this is what I want in 2019. I want to travel.
Yeah.
I want this. I want this. I want this. I want to go to Germany with my family. But this time, I got it so clearly that you are not asking by writing these things down. You had asked the first time you desired to go to Germany, the first time you got to know that your boyfriend is in Germany, you had desired that you wanted to go to Germany, or the first time you went to Germany and you missed your parents. In that contrast of missing your parents, you had already set
Mm.
the goal. You had set the goal. So this is something that Abraham talks about all the time, sending a rocket of desire while you're facing the contrast, while you're moving through life. But that is the goal that you have set, so to say. And the moment that you feel inspired to write this down, or the moment you feel inspired to think about, okay, this is what I want next, it's the moment where it's already, completely planned. It's the low hanging fruit now. It's the ripe fruit now. It's ready for you to kind of grab and taste and enjoy. So now that you think about whatever you're thinking about this year, like this is something that I'm going to be doing in my program now, is that what are your intentions for 2020? And whatever
Mm.
intentions flow from people, these are not the things that they're now asking from the universe. These are the things which are ripe for them to, pluck. Because when you're setting the intentions, you're already in the receiving mode. You're not in the asking mode, you're in the receiving mode. So it's already done, it's already ready, all the components are ready. So that is something that was a huge understanding, that oh my god, everything that I wanted, so even this thing, even this thing, even this thing, it's all done, it's all ready. I mean,
Mhm.
all I have to do is get ready and lined up to this, so I can have everything that I want. So that thing of being pure in your energy, not splitting your energy, being clear in your decision, that is something I think that I'm currently like really enjoying thinking about, and calibrating to that. It's done, it's ready. I'm in the receiving mode. If I'm thinking of this goal for myself, that oh, I want this year, that means I received the idea that I want this. Just like when the master student came to me, that oh, what about a scholarship? So that was an indicator that oh, it's ready. So now that
Mhm.
if I'm thinking of intention, that means it's already ready. So like,
Well,
this
that's
is something I'm currently.
wonderful. I want to, let's say I have questions that popped up for me. So,
Yes.
because I want to talk about your program, because I know you did a 5-day and now you're starting a 2-week. Is that right?
Yes.
But
Yes.
before we get into that, because people are going to want more Sunjula, this will be just an amuse bouche for them, right? They're going to like, I want more. But I want to go back to I love how you describe it like fruit that's ripe, that's ready to be plucked. Because
Mm-hmm.
Abraham uses they use say indicator, and they've
Mm-hmm.
talked about it being driftwood. I think I
Hmm.
heard that early on. That driftwood is, when you're out in the ocean, you see a piece of driftwood, that land is relatively nearby. So
Yeah.
what you want is close at hand, it's an indicator. So I like that you've taken it, to me, that's taking it to a new place, saying it, because I'll often have things come up that I'll be like, oh, that's an indicator of
Hmm.
something. But I was close, now that I have this new idea that you've given me, I can't quite remember what my old idea was. But I know
Okay.
it wasn't this. I like your idea better. And I'm very proud of myself for attracting you, sharing this with me and with everyone, because I think you are totally right, spot on about that. When we have this, I want this, wouldn't it be nice? It's so close. It's already exists. It's like we have
Hmm.
our umbrella up
Yeah.
and we're stopping the rain, so to speak. We're blocking temporarily the rain of whatever we want. And maybe we get a little drop of something
Hmm.
on us and we're like, oh, is it raining? And then we're like, oh, I want this. Or wouldn't it be nice to have a new car? Wouldn't it be nice to have a beautiful home on lots of acreage and finances, as much as I can spend coming in? Like even whatever I'm saying right now, like these have to be close or I wouldn't have the words to put to
Yes.
them. So that
Exactly.
I really enjoy that. It somehow brings it so much closer and it's pushed out whatever my old idea was. So I love that. I hope everyone takes that as you're so not only, ask and it is given, which is probably one of the first books you'd
Hmm.
seen, the cover of ask and it is given, it's given. So
Hmm.
Sunjula is saying, yep, Abraham says it's given, and I'm saying it's given, it's given. And there's an indicator. It's almost like, I'm trying to think of what would be a good analogy. The presents are under the tree.
Hmm.
The
Yes.
presents are under the tree. Do your little advent calendar, whatever, mark down. I don't need to be making exclusively Christian reference, but you
Yeah.
heard I was raised a Catholic, so that's where I'm kind of coming from, that it's, you can mark, you can look forward to it. It doesn't have to be 25 days. It could be,
Yes.
however, it could be the next day. You could start a tradition, like not everybody opens their presents on Christmas morning. Some people open their presents Christmas Eve. Some people open them just when they see each other. So, but the presents are under the tree. Whatever you want is
Yeah.
done.
It's
And
done.
if you can have the idea to look under the tree, because maybe you're in a different room, so to speak,
Hmm.
and you're in the room going, looking out the window going, I want, I wish, whatever. And you're in a pretty good mood, having a pretty good life. But if you're like, expectation, I think is the next step. So you're helping people expect and
Exactly.
start looking for it. Like not just you're telling, I'm putting words in your mouth, but so you're in a boat on the water in Alaska, somewhere, Alaska, the seas, whatever. And when you see a little bit of ice, you're trying to let people know that's not just nothing. Don't just
Yeah.
row past or allow yourself to be jetted past this little
Yeah.
bit of ice. Know that there's, or maybe a better analogy is you're living your life. Now I have you in California. So you're in
Yes.
California and you're by a stream and you're panning for gold. You want gold. So you're panning for gold. You get a fleck.
Hmm.
You get a fleck. That's an it's there. That, they didn't go. I'm using. I got to come up with a better analogy. But you don't. It goes together. The fleck and the gold. They didn't dig for gold in places. They didn't dig for oil where there wasn't any indicator of oil. And you're saying to people, having the thought, having the desire, having the wish is the indicator. I don't think I've heard it said like that.
Yeah.
That's totally awesome. I don't think I've heard it exactly said like that from Abraham. So, or from a guest in the hot seat. So to me, this is really awesome for me to be like that. It really cements that is the indicator that it is available to you.
It's done.
Right. It is available to you.
It is.
So if you're
So
hungry for whatever you're hungry for, if you want a really beautiful salad, that beautiful salad is ready for you. If you want whatever, money in your bank account, it's available to you. All you have to do is start being like, oh, because I had this thought, this conversation, like you're saying, sometimes it's within ourselves, sometimes it's
yeah.
reflected to us by someone else. Like I've
Yeah.
had people, what if they said to me, I'm trying to think of it. Sometimes people have said things to me that I go, oh, that's really an interesting thing. Like, what if they said, well, um, Mark and Karen, I think, had said I should record these stories when I was shared in an
Okay.
in-person group meeting. I shared some of the stories that you've heard, that kind of thing. And they said, why don't you should record those? Well, the whole idea of recording them came from someone else.
Hmm.
Although my husband's a big fan of like YouTube channels, and he says, go ahead, put it out there, record it. But when they said it, I was like, oh yeah. But it's not just we shouldn't just dismiss these things. If someone says you look like a model and you should model, that's
Yeah.
an indicator according to Sunjula's theorem, whatever. I don't know what we're going to call it. The Sunjula
Sure.
proposal is
Yeah.
that you're hearing it either from yourself or from another because it is done and available and ripe for the picking. It's ripe for the
Exactly.
picking, but it might be ripe for the picking, but you might not be, maybe it's one thing if it's ripe for the picking and it's a strawberry, right? Because I can pretty much just see it and pick it.
Yeah.
But what if it
Yeah.
was an orange up in the center of the orange tree? Now it's ripe for the picking, but I have to get myself in alignment
Mm.
with that orange to be able.
If you don't expect it, you won't look up. When you
Exactly.
start expecting, then you are looking up, because otherwise you're looking still for
Right.
something else. You
I'm
have
seeing an
to.
orange tree. Yeah. An
Yes.
orange tree. And if I want, I have an idea. I want, it's a
Yes.
Ferrari. Yeah. I watched the
Yeah.
movie Ford versus Ferrari. And I'm like, oh, wouldn't it be fun to have a car like that? Either one, either the Shelby or the Ferrari. That'd be a lot of
Yeah.
fun. And to have a Ferrari in Italy and have a Peugeot or whatever it is in France, and then have a what would it be in America? Have a Mercedes? I don't know. I can't even think. Oh, Tesla. Let's have a Tesla.
Tesla. Yes.
Yeah. So let's have a Tesla. So the desire from that, anything we could want is available to us. We just have to expect it. And just like how then it'll come to us in a, like if you want it and you expect it, and then in your case, you allowed the download of the idea to do it yourself.
Yeah.
I'll go online and reach out. There's so many things I know when people hear, if Americans are hearing the story, they may not realize how you sort of went against a lot of potentially cultural, it wasn't like it was your environment was contrast or resistance free. Even being able to think of things like going out on your own is not necessarily encouraged in your culture and your immediate family and environment. The idea to go stand there in front of your professor, to get up at an unspecified time when you're supposed to be probably nose to the grindstone, right?
Yeah.
Sort of like the American expression. And you stand up at a random time, and people know when you're standing and moving about, and oh, there she's going into the professor, but there's no appointment, and there's probably some kind of formality a little bit about having an appointment. You don't just interrupt like in an American, setting, and even in academia, maybe there is that kind of formality, but I'm sure it's a lot looser than it is in your culture.
Agenda. I myself don't have an agenda, and I'm still going there, and I have no idea what to say.
Right.
I have no idea why I'm being picked up to go to her room, but there I am. So that is something. And one thought, as you said, that how Abraham says it, is one thought that came to reaffirm this belief that I had now, is that so much momentum or so many components have already been put in place before you had the first idea. This is something that Abraham says, before you have the first thought of that desire, so much has already been put in place.
I think they say like 99%.
Yes.
I've heard that. I've heard it, and I appreciate you bringing it up, because they say like 99% of it is done. But it wasn't until you said it to me right here, right now, about it's available. Like somehow you transmitted that knowing to me, transmitted your knowing to me, and I had the knowing of, that's right. And even though I'm saying the words, I'm like, I know it's in it, but no, now I have the knowing that don't just, it's like, what's so funny, Sunjula, is I love movies, right? I really enjoy movies. I love that they take all these creative people that come and work for years on a project that takes 2 hours. And sometimes the 2 hours is like 2 hours of real time. You watch someone just in a 2 hour period of the movie begins at 10 o'clock and ends at 12 o'clock. And sometimes it's 20 years or hundreds of years or whatever it is. Sometimes the span of time in the movie. But it's about a 2 hour movie in what I think of as time. But all that effort that went into the creation and the storyline and the plot. But you know what? They don't turn the camera to focus on a postage stamp unless that postage stamp is going to mean something later on. They don't have a line of dialogue that isn't written that someone believes it has a meaning for the backstory of the what do they call it? Characters, the backstory of the character. Like maybe things get edited out on the editing room floor, and so we don't get to connect all the dots of what the original vision was. But I know that about movies, and that's why I like movies. And yet that's exactly what is happening in our lives, which didn't come to life to me until just now with you. And I'm like, of course, if I have this, and I'm going to use a horrible example, but my friends and I have said, like, if you ever have this idea that you're nauseous, you need to respect that idea. You respect the nausea idea that comes into your head and start clearing a path or making plans, because you don't get this unwarranted. Now, why did I previously allow that for something like nausea? And now, but that same definition applies for if you get a compliment, if you get someone inspires you. I met back when I wanted to be a stand-up, not pay, I wouldn't turn it down at all. I like the idea of being a uplifting, someone, make fun and make light of things that are already light or whatever. And I was interested in doing studio warm-up, which is where someone gets the crowd very excited for a live recording. So they're going to record Seinfeld show and they want live laughs like you're in a comedy club recorded. So I went and did, I had a mentor and I was kind of moving into that world in California. There was a small canteen it was called, and a restaurant near the studio. I was channeling my inner Sanjula. All I knew was after that, being at the studio, I was going to go eat in that restaurant because that was the closest thing, and I didn't really know the area, and I was going to eat there. I didn't have any thoughts about it. I show up there. The people there don't, like, there's someone kind of blocking the door like a bouncer. And I'm looking at them, and I'm wearing, this is maybe in 2000s. And I have jeans on, some kind of t-shirt and a blazer, and I've kind of like astronaut wife hair, like a little, fixed sort of whatever I was doing. Anyway, the sneakers, I kind of look, you wouldn't be surprised if someone said I was a stand-up comic or something like that, because the uniform I kind of had on was jeans and blazer. And I don't know why I was so rocking a blazer in 2000s, but I'm standing there at night. All the crowds have left from the studio, and I'm at this place, the canteen that I remember. So this is pre-vibrant cell phones. Cell phones exist, but it's not like a little computer. You're not Googling things. I didn't Google the canteen or read about it. I just showed up because I'd seen it physically. So I stand there and I'm looking at the maitre d' or whoever he is, this bouncer guy. And I'm like, yeah, I'm going to go. He like kind of stops me. I'm like, stops me. I'm like, yeah, I'd like to go in and eat. Or I'm sure I said something like, I'm here to eat. And he was like, wait a minute. And I said, wait a minute. And I was kind of like, well, you're open, right? And he just wasn't responsive to me in a way. I thought it was so odd. And he was like, yeah, just a minute. And I could see people were coming in and out, but the door was open. It looks like it was very dark, but they had little candles on the table. And I was like, you're open you're serving food, right? So I don't understand why I can't go in. He asked me to stay there, and he goes and he gets someone from the inside. He brings out meanwhile, I'm standing there. All I'm focused on is my laser focus of, I'm going in and I'm eating here because this is a place I want to eat. I've already seen, I don't know the area. I have to get on the highway. I don't have GPS, right? Not that it doesn't really exist at that point. I have a map. I have to find my way back the way I know to get back home because I'm on a business trip here in California. And so I didn't have really time for this nonsense because I want to eat. This is the place I want. This is why I want it, right? That's all I was focused on is I'm eating here. I'm eating here. I'm eating here. I'm eating here. I don't know what that's about, but I'm eating here. So the guy comes out from the back, looks me up and down and says, yeah, let her in. So he's like the chef or something. So I come in, there's no one else in the restaurant. I don't find out until I'm seated and the chef guy talks to me. He says, yeah, we're an industry restaurant and you'd be surprised how many people are trying to get in here. And I said, oh, really? Now, I'm not even paying attention to what he's saying. I'm busy looking at the menu. I'm the only person in there. I'm like, what was all the fuss about? I'm the only person here. And then I realized while we're talking that what he meant was only actors, actresses, people who are part of the cast and crew, cameramen, all the people who are going to, the reason it's empty is because the show just finished. The people are then going to change clothes, and then come and eat at the restaurant. And I show up. So I said to the guy, I am a person who wants to be a stand-up. And I was there because I'm doing this. I explained my whole thing. And I said, I wasn't trying to break in. And he totally understood the whole thing. He goes, don't worry about it. But he thought I looked like I could be someone's manager, or I looked like someone in the industry. And my attitude was completely entitled. Like I deserve to be here. And so he let me in. And so I went back to that restaurant over and over again since I got to know that guy. And during that business trip, I went again and again, because you can imagine someone that wants to be a stand-up in an industry. I'm like, I'm going to get discovered. And sure enough, one night, the people who were writers for Will and Grace were playing softball. So they had played softball. They were coming in, and I asked the waiter guy, and I had someone that I brought with me. She was sitting next to me in the front row for the Craig Ferguson show. So we got front row, and we're sitting there together watching the show, and it's live taping, and I'm learning about all the studio warm-up stuff, right? But she's just a regular person. And so I said, hey, I know this restaurant. Come with me. We can get in. It's industry. It'd be kind of fun. So she comes with me, and the Will and Grace people, writers, are there after their softball game at this big, table of a bunch of them. but we're the only people in the restaurant. And somehow there's a little bit of conversation back and forth between me and the table. And somebody laughs at something I said, and they said, "Hey, who do you work for?" I had my umbrella up. This is like, I couldn't get I was like, like I was just hanging on by my fingernails to the fact that I'm in the restaurant, I'm living this life like I wasn't completely in the vibration of allowing. I still was in a little bit of disbelief and just so excited by it. So when they say, who do you work for? I say, oh, I have quite a few projects going on. And I continue eating my food. Now, and they say, hey, good, but we had some genial conversation, but that's where it ends. If I was in the place where I am today and having just heard this tidbit that I totally needed and wanted from you that I didn't even know I was missing. It's like a puzzle piece I didn't even know I was missing that I got from you, that it completes it. When they reach out to me and are saying, who do you work for? I could have said, I could work for Will and Grace. Maybe, if you're lucky. Hey, come over. I could have, seen it as, this is something for me. I say, why? What are you thinking? Or what makes you ask that? Or I could have gotten up, walked over. I had my little comedy business cards. I was trying to get 5 minutes of stage time at these places and hear Will and Grace writers. Now, meanwhile, I've already had interactions with people from SNL. I've already done auditions for HBO. I already got on that game show thing. I had experiences, but in that moment, that's all I could let in. And I don't fault my past self, because it was a great experience. At the time, I was like, they noticed me, they said something, they thought something I said was funny. Like, that's all I could let in. Like a dry plant that you pour water in. If a plant is dried out, but normally needs water, when you try to pour water in the plant, it takes a few waterings for it to really expand up and allow the appropriate amount of water. So I was on that topic, I was a little bit of a dried plant. But now that I know, so thank you for indulging that long story. But because that is like a situation I can think of from my life where if I would have known what I know now, I would have approached it differently. So I'm so excited about what is to come in my life that will show up, that I will recognize that is there for me, that's available. And I picture, like, I don't know why I'm picturing this, Sanjula, but I'm picturing like an apple, but also a tomato. So I'm picturing, when you say a fruit that's juicy, right? I don't know why I picture like hanging at eye level right here for me to just reach out is this red, but it's also juicy. So I don't know why I have this hybrid fruit.
Something delicious, I'm sure.
And juicy right there for me. It's like, you have given me such a gift to realize, and I'm so proud of myself for attracting it and allowing it in. That it is right there. That is an indicator. Do not flip it away. Do not act like, you know how sometimes people get a compliment and they can't quite. Someone gave me a compliment. They said they worked with Steve Jobs. I'd won this contest, a $10,000 contest that Tim Ferriss had to how to write and promote a best-selling book, because he'd written and promoted the best-selling book in 2011. So, and he had this opening of the kimono event for 3 days in Napa, California. It cost $10,000 to go to the event. And all you had to do is create a 3-minute video, under 3-minute video, and then get voted on. And Anyway, I won. So I won that trip to Napa just because it seemed like a nice idea. And I'm sure I'll detail that in a future results show thing. But I had, I was telling you that because I had I was at that event with all these interesting people who had written a check for $10,000. It was just a factor of 10. Some people might spend $100 on a weekend. Some people spend $1,000. Some people spend $10,000. Some people spend $100,000. Some people spend $1 million, right? It's just a factor of 10. So I was with people, whether they had $1 million or not, they had the funds, they were there. They paid the $10,000 for the 3 days. And it was wonderful. We learned a lot, signed a non-disclosure because it was such valuable information. But there was a guy I met that said, I reminded him of Steve Jobs. At the time, it was the biggest compliment I'd gotten. Like I was like, I don't even know what to do. I remind you of Steve Jobs. What is it? To me, he was like a guy who invented the iPhone, the iPod. And then later with his biography and stuff, you learn he was a little bit of kind of guy. But at the time, I didn't know that. At the time, I only took it as like the Steve Jobs, the happy face kind of Steve Jobs,
Yeah.
because I didn't know the biography wasn't out yet. I'm not sure if Steve Jobs was alive in 2011. I don't know. But I think maybe so. So it was just this big compliment. And now, knowing what you just shared with me, that I could make space. I have a place. I've heard people talk about thoughts, and we almost like need a container to put a new thought in. If we don't have anywhere to put it,
Yeah.
we can't. We don't. It doesn't really fully serve us. And so you've given me a container of. It's an indicator. It's a ripe fruit. I'm on a lake, and so I have birds flying by that just caught my eye. It's a ripe fruit that if I'm feeling a little bit like a dried plant, which is okay, there's worse things than a dried plant. If I'm feeling I'm not vibrationally allowing at the moment, I can still put that compliment. I can still put that indicator in my mental container of that as fruit, and accept it. Accept it as like somehow this conversation has switched it from a random nice thing to a certainty, an indicator of some kind of certainty for something that's important to me, that's available.
Exactly.
All I need to do is line up for it, to set that expectation, which is a key word which you use. I can expect. It's a little harder for me to see exactly with the Steve Jobs example, but I would have been able to put that somewhere and then allow myself to meditate on it and allow things to come into place. I can still do that, today, because there's really no such thing as time. So it really doesn't matter that these things took place in seemingly different time stamps. We can now, they're still accessible to me now, because I'm using them as examples. So maybe Will and Grace, they already did a reboot. Maybe they're going to contact me. Maybe some Steve Jobs kind of thing will somehow have access to, but I can now put them in that. It's not a random or general.
Yeah.
And see if this is correct with your intentions. But I would have taken it before as I'm in alignment, I'm in a good mood, so I attracted this, but it's a general thing. This is so what I'm taking from what you said was, it is a specific indicator. It is a specific indicator that this Will and Grace writing job before leading to stand up or something is there for me. There is a specific offering for me in what has come to me. And it could be wanted or unwanted, right? Because it works the other way as well, I'm guessing. If you have an indicator, like I was able to use it for the nausea, that's an indicator of something unwanted coming to me. And now you've totally opened up this other side where it could be something wanted is indicated. And you were going to say?
I'm not surprised that you're talking about Will and Grace so much. I mean, we don't want to take that lightly also, that maybe something shows up and, because everything is in your vortex. Something that Jerry used to say, that he realized that everything that he wanted since his childhood comes and is coming into his life experience, and he's feeling that fulfillment. So even something as tiny as we thought that that was a childhood dream, it still has to for us, like right here, right now. We just have to allow it. So even though it seems like so many years back I was not in the place where I could allow that Will and Grace thing, but the equivalent of what it meant for you, the reason why you're talking about it, something like that is in store for you. So you can
the expectation,
that I'm open for it. So that's something now that I understand it, I'm really open to everything. I'm like, okay, I'm gonna try. So when a thought comes to me, it's not no more, that's a dream, is it possible? It's like, it's already,
it is it's connected. It's the tip of the iceberg. It's this fruit, it's there.
It's
that's
done.
awesome.
It's afoot. Something's happening already, it's playing out. So okay, I can be a cooperative component to that. I can start being a cooperative component to everything that is lined up with this thought, this desire that I have, that this thought just came to me. So there's a particular income level that you have.
On my side, the camera froze. I don't know if it froze for you. Because right now you're saying to have, I can't hear you anymore if you can hear me.
Hi there.
I couldn't hear you. It froze when you said anything you want to have. I don't know if you could still hear me or not.
Yeah, now it's perfect, I think. But I think that is the biggest piece, I think. I love that I got this
So
insight.
awesome. I love that you got that insight.
And I love that you received it and we could amplify it further
Oh,
and we could
it is
take,
awesome. For you, it feels like just the next thing. And I'm like, for me, it is awesome. It's awesome. It's a new tool in my toolkit. I'm looking around, expect like what am I attracting? What are take the things, and if they're wanted, you put them in the
yeah,
container, know they're wanted, bask in them, appreciate them, think about them. And if they're unwanted, then just turn my attention. I don't have to worry about it. I can notice it and go, oh, is there anything in the moment? I can use techniques if it's not wanted, but really I don't have to pay attention to those. Just the things that I want, I can selectively sift
yeah,
the things that I want, but it really takes it to the next level about it is already, it's a very specific indicator what is available to the person. It's not just this willy-nilly
yeah,
thing about maybe someone is like, oh, someone has a llama ranch.
hmm,
Yeah, maybe you're gonna have a llama ranch or whatever people
yeah,
want to do. Oh, someone took a cruise around the world. Oh, well, you attracted that. Like I attracted the will and grace, and I'm so grateful to myself that I attracted, in the restaurant, that's only industry people. I'm bringing other people in. I mean, that has served me well, that confidence and that things are working out for me. That was perfect for where I was.
yeah.
And now I can go back and with those really peak moments. I can go, like, I've listed out at least 52 stories of
Okay,
attraction manifestation, like the content. I mean, I've mentioned
yeah,
several here, right? So, and I thought, oh yeah, I have these things. I can go back and either mine through those or just see what's coming in my world and be like that. It feels like a shortcut. It
yeah,
really feels like this is presenting itself. Your order is ready. You put your order in, and then order up. Your order's ready, and instead of looking away, look at
yeah,
the plate. Your order from the restaurant. You put your order in. You kind of forgot about it, but it is here, and it can't really get cold or hot or whatever would be the opposite of what you want. But it's going to be there. It's there, and if you just look, oh, is my food? You'd only look if you're
yeah.
wanting, is my food here? So you have to have that expectation. And you're helping me and others have that expectation. So I'm so excited. But for you, I know it probably just feels like, yeah, just like
No,
all
no,
the
no.
stuff Sam says.
This
It's
is
good. It's good.
it's my latest tool as well because when I got this insight, I just jumped up because I said I was in a kind of a
Yeah.
slumber
Yeah.
thing because as soon as this download came, I was like, oh my God, this is precious. I put it down on my phone to just really formulate the thoughts that I had. And then I started really thinking about it and really understanding it. And that really uplifted me that, oh my God, it's done. Anything that I'm thinking of. So I would just like again speak to my inner being. So you mean this is done? You mean this is done? This thing also, this thing also. Oh, okay, it's all done. So it's a
Yeah.
matter of just shifting my expectation that I don't have to strive for it. That's
No.
another level of life being easy,
Oh, it's
that
like a hack. It is a
yeah,
total vibrational it feels like a vibrational hack. It's always been easy. And
yeah,
yet, in the beginning, like, did you ever see the movie The Matrix?
yes,
Matrix
yes,
with Keanu Reeves. Okay, they say that the machine says that they had previous versions of the Matrix which were utopian, which were beautiful,
yeah,
but humans didn't believe it could be that easy, so we're nice or whatever. And the same thing with me. Apparently, I came for a little bit of struggle and a little bit of drama, or that's I like a technique and do
hmm,
this. When really, if you're having the idea about it or it's showing up in your world, it's already
yeah,
done. That's the indicator. So now you can start expecting whatever that was. The
exactly.
money in your bank account, the partner, the physical body that you want to have, the energy level you want to have, the beautiful surroundings and free to feeling and feelings of freedom, whatever it's really the feelings of the manifestations, right? So
Yes.
that is just so awesome sauce. That's awesome. So I'm sure, so I said I was going to ask you about so you did your 5-day program, and people don't have to worry if they miss the 5-day program. They can either probably catch up, or you'll somehow wrap around and include it in your 2-week program.
Yeah.
So maybe you can share whatever you want to share about what's coming up for you.
Sure, sure. First of all, thank you, Sheila, for being this person who could receive this, because I was waiting to share this with someone who could receive this with the same excitement that I received it. Like, oh my God, you can shift from step 1 to step 3 directly. This is something, of course, Abraham has been saying for such a long time.
I know. I know.
Given.
I
There's
know.
nothing in between, but it takes a while to suddenly like get it in this way.
Yeah, they say words don't teach, that personal experience teaches. And so somehow we both probably had enough experiences of a soft idea and it happening, and a soft idea and it happening, that now we've had that life experience. Now we're at the level to let this idea. That's awesome.
Allow this. And so that's what I think my basis, because I've been coaching for a while now, for about a year or so, and I've done programs like this before. But this understanding, this exact understanding that that you've asked for it, you've done your job, and not even by setting the goals and writing these down and doing the vision board, you've asked for it the moment you didn't even realize it when you were facing contrast. So now that you're thinking about, oh, I have this goal for my 2020, the thought that you've received means that it's ready for you to pluck. So just shifting that kind of vibration around it. Oh my God, it's ready. Come on, focus here. It's ready for you to pick. So whatever you asked for is done. So that is something that I'm focusing on this 2-week program. As much as I can allow people to shift from that place, from focusing on the contrast to still asking, not even focusing on the contrast, because we confuse what the asking is. Asking is something that you do very naturally. It's not something that you're asking consciously again and again. I want this money, I want this money. You asked when you didn't have that on your own. That's done. So right now your job is not to ask further, it's to allow with what is already now playing out for you. So that is something that I've been focusing on. So the last 5-day program was a free program that I did on Facebook to step into that version of ourselves. So something that I allow people to do, or through the exercises, to shift the identity. Instead of being the asker, how would it feel to be the identity, to adopt the identity of the person who already had it, just to kind of step into that person for a while. That now that you're asking for, say, a Ferrari, well, how would it feel like to be that person who has a Ferrari? What are the emotions that you're actually looking for? How would it feel like being that person already? And that somehow has worked really beautifully for me also. Sometimes when I imagine something that I want, and what if I already had it? Who would I become? What are the things that I would indulge in on a daily basis? What are the thoughts and actions that I would have? So already, making that shift, that's something very delicious. So if you're interested, if whoever's watching, if it's interested in the 5-day program, it's all free. I can send you all the content. Just reach out to me on my Facebook page. I'm going to share the link, I think, with Sheila. So you can reach out to me with my Facebook page. And I'm going to be starting the 2-week program tomorrow. So in case you're interested, you can hop in between. Whenever you watch the video, you can reach out to me. And that's a paid program, of course, because we're going to go intensive into that. And we're going to have these live calls there also, that I'm going to soften people's resistance and take them towards where they want to go, focus on what is already done, ready for them. In case anyone ever wants to reach out to me, my Facebook profile is public. You can reach out to me, send me a message, send me a comment. I'll reach back to you. So I'm just excited.
Wow, that's awesome. That is so great. I mean, that's just and it's fun for you as well. Like Abraham talks about, when Esther thinks about the tree house that she has on a property. I got to visit many times when they have their events in San Antonio. They will invite people back to their property. I guess they used to do it twice a year. I don't know how often they do it, but they sent out an email saying to people, hey, if you come to this event in San Antonio, we'll also be doing on the next day, you come back to the property. So Esther was there, and it was back in maybe 2011, something like that. And that was the time that I went, and we could walk around. We could see the treehouse, and I got to go up in the treehouse, and part of it is air conditioned. It's like 3 stories. It's up in the trees. It's beautiful. And so you can walk up in it and be inside it. And then you can be at the very top where you're at the height of trees and you're looking around like at the treetop level on the property. It's like awesome. It's as awesome as you would imagine it to be, being and thinking like, what kind of life is this to go in? I'm going to go out to my office in the treehouse or go hang out and do work or just enjoy it and be in trees. And depending on the level, like ground level or mid level or at the very tippy tops, I'm looking at around. It's awesome. And I have the experience of being at the treehouse.
Yeah.
But when Esther thinks about it, what Abraham said is Esther thinks about when she and Jerry were just sort of dreaming it into being. So thinking about when there was just all this possibility and no resistance, that's how if she wants to use a memory or an experience to help her raise her vibration or fine tune her vibration, she'll think back to that time. And I think what we've done in this discussion, and we both had these stories where we were able to talk about, even though you've had, like you say, it's 2 years with your boyfriend or more than 2 years with this relationship that's unfolding wonderfully with your families, but there's so many other delicious things happening. And yet what Esther does and what we have done as well, we go back to some of the early ones and the early and before this happened, because now it's, and I do take a lot of things for granted. Oh, of course that worked out. Of course that happened. Of course that, things work out for me. But when it was like this, when it hadn't become yet, and then when it tipped and when things became, and I'm sure that's how you'll also help people with, people just hearing your stories and your sharing and your examples, because you'll be telling examples from not just what we've heard now, you'll be telling all the way up to current, to the day you're having that call with people. They're probably going to be examples of things that you had. Ooh, that's ripe fruit. That's ripe for my plucking. I'm going to expect it. And you don't have to do anything except expect it, right? You just expect it. You just expect, get in a energy state of expectation. Ooh, the present is under the tree. The present's under the tree. It's for me. It's got my name on it. It's got a tag. It's this big. I want to, I know what it is. You don't have to wonder what it is. It's wrapped and shaped like a guitar, or it's wrapped like it's a big bank bag of money with a bow on it. It's the car with the bow on it. It is, you don't even have to unwrap it to know what it is. That indicator is the thing saying it's for you. But I think that because of who you are and the stories that you'll share with people, it will help them be in a place of it's possible, and then it won't take long before anybody that I'm sure that spends any time with you at all, it won't be long before they're telling you stories. I'm sure you already had it during the 5-day program of people writing comments, that they had stories of manifestations coming through, and they have their aha moments, and they have their feelings of, it's feeling good and feeling expansive and feeling free and feeling love and feeling that they're having, that they're sharing with you, right? So
I'm so glad. I'm so glad that, and for anyone who's watching, something that we had discussed, Sheila and I, because she has heard my entire story, because we are part of the Abraham Fund. Yeah, and the funny thing is, even that this conversation is a manifestation that I feel like I allowed, because something that I wanted the previous year that I had asked for, that I wanted to be featured on some podcast or some show like this. And while I was enjoying the conversation of sharing my story in Abraham Fund, Sheila, someone who had shared her her story just a few weeks back, someone who I was very inspired by, someone's story which made me feel so uplifted, and I followed up after that, with your hot seat experiences and everything. You asked me during that call if I would love to share here, and I was like, of course, this was a manifestation, and that was another reaffirmation that, of course, it was ready for me. Maybe last year I didn't have this understanding, so I was asking for this, that this is something that I want, and this is something that I'm looking forward to, a goal or something like this. But it was so easy.
Now you had wanted it. That means it's available to you, so you can start being on the lookout. Just the expectation. Oh, I want it. I think I want it, but it's actually available to me. It's like, the feeling of deja vu. I think maybe a way for me to make sense of it in my head is deja vu, and there's some scientists say it's actually a memory that instead of getting
Yeah.
stored in long-term memory, feels like it's coming out of memory. I've heard some of
Yeah.
that. And sometimes I care about science and sometimes I don't. Like if it's appealing, if it matches up with what my belief system is, then I pick from it. And if it doesn't match up with my belief system, I let it go. Because you can find anything to match any theory, creation, evolution, anything you want out in the
True.
world.
True.
So, but with the Abraham would say, I think they say deja vu is an indicator that it's either like a premonition or a creation, or I've heard them say, when people ask the question about deja vu, I think I've heard them say, Sunjula, that it's like you're in alignment. It's like more of an
Mm.
alignment thing. You're in vibrational alignment. So you're asking your vortex. It's kind of like you're meeting your vortex, kind of like a Venn diagram, maybe.
Yes. 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 Yes.
Is that
Makes
kind of
sense.
what you've heard about deja vu, or
Because
maybe?
even with Abraham, I've heard this one hot seater who's sitting on the hot seat. He says to Abraham that I'm having a deja vu because I knew that this is going to happen, or I just feel like this has happened. And Abraham said, you know what, this has happened already vibrationally, and this is just a physical manifestation of what was in the vortex. And you tapped into the vortex, you tapped into the vibrational reality, and that's something that we keep. Vibrational reality is real. The vortex is real. And that is what we just are tapping into. Oh my God, it's done. It's ready. Oh, it's ready.
Mm-hmm.
It's done. So now it's just going
Yeah,
to physically manifest. It's like,
that's what
you
it.
have, yeah,
Go ahead.
you have those DIY kits, do it yourself kits, which give you all the components of how to build that
Mm-hmm.
thing. It gives you all the instructions. So, now that you first have the idea that, oh, I want to go to Abraham Hicks workshop, that means all the components are ready. They're all ready, and the instruction manual is there, and not even just like
It's actually already
disassembling.
made. Yeah, I think it's already
Exactly.
made.
It's already made for you. And so you just have to see that there. Oh, it's done. It's ready.
It's
So
it's
yeah.
like in the U.S. we have those cooking kits. They send you like Blue Apron. They have different names for them. Well, they'll send you this much of ginger or
Yeah.
jasmine or whatever you need to create it. So you have just the exact amounts.
Yeah.
So I think what I've been doing with the process is getting the kit and then
Mm.
making the meal. I'm being so excited that it's all here and it's all easy. But now apparently I'm ready for it to be even easier. And we
Even
talked about before we started recording that I was focused on today, oh, I'm going to be talking to Sunjula. And her mantra is easy, it can be easy. And so I'm going to embrace that in my in a master's program. And so I want a graduate program. And so I want that project I'm working on today to be easy. And I did have an easy solution for myself. And I'm like, just by focusing a little bit on the fact that I'm talking to you and I know your thing is easy, I know by the
yeah.
time I'm done talking to you, I'm going to feel it's easy. But it's almost like instead of getting that DIY kit for the food, that the
Yeah.
meal, or I could do this, or I could look over here and it's already prepared, or it's being served.
Yeah.
I could do that if I want to feel like I'm really getting my hands in the clay,
Yeah.
or I could, to me, it feels like next level. Takes the time. I can't wait till I can't wait to hear, we'll have to do a follow-up one for
Yeah.
this
Yeah.
because how long is your 2-week program? Maybe
Yes.
something after your 2-week program, whenever it feels fun, because
Sure.
I'm interested to hear your personal, the fruit, it was done, it was done, it was done, it was done. And not that we need, not that you want all the fruit to be ripe on the tree, all your things to fall out of the vortex, but to
Exactly.
have a few key ones in
Yeah.
place, a few things, and then have them they're just unfolding perfectly. But it'll be exciting to hear what the next, because things are always falling apart, what the next things that you have expectations and
Yeah.
you have the thought, or it shows up to you, and then you have the expectation, and then the physical manifestation happens for you and for your clients. And then I'm going to have something to say. I think even before the end of today, because for me it's 5:00 my time.
Yeah.
So we talked for a long time.
My God.
We talked for a long
That's
time because I think we started recording at 2:30 my time. So
3:30.
yeah,
Oh yes.
woo!
As I said, not feeling sleepy at all after
Yeah,
speaking to
we
you.
kind of pre-taped that. We said we're gonna have a great call. We're gonna be so
Yeah.
excited. I think what I'm gonna do, Sanjula, on this recording, is I'm gonna put in the description, I'm gonna put a timestamp for when you
Sure.
introduce that idea.
Sure.
When you
Sure.
introduce my apple tomato. When I
Yeah.
had this idea, when you just start talking about it, people can watch from there on, and then if they feel inspired, they can circle back around or
Oh,
whatever
sure.
people would like to go at this. But I think that might be a good entry point for
Perfect.
folks in the description. And then if you have anything you would like me to add in the description or any links, maybe I'll think about some of the links we spoke about, or anybody can write in the comments any question or
Sure.
anything they have. And
Definitely.
I'll see it. If it's something for you, then I'll forward to you so you can see it and we can
Definitely. Definitely.
respond right away. But I bet you people are going to find you, Sunjula. So it's Sanjula,
Yes.
and then Mahn-sing, it's Mansingh.
Yes.
That's how they
And I
find you.
can share a link. I can share a link on the comment section whenever you post it. It's gonna be easy.
Right.
Who
It's
is
going to
gonna
be
find
totally easy.
so
It'll be
easy?
totally easy. Oh my goodness. How are you going to yeah, I like Zoom allows for what, 100 participants. How are you going to, allow for that? There might not be room. You might have to expand your bandwidth. If you're the
Yeah.
101st person or whoever, then Sunda's going to expand or have staggered weeks, or that'll be a happy problem, right?
Yeah, that would be a happy thing. And the solution will also come around for that, so no
It will
problem.
come around because it'll be like, oh, yeah, there'll be apparently there's an expectation for more bandwidth. So that's interesting. That's coming.
Yeah.
Thank you for helping me
I
increase
love it.
my bandwidth. It was delightful. I knew it would be, but it's still a surprise, like surprise and a delight. It feels pretty complete to me. What else
That's
would you like to? What else would you like to share?
no. It's just complete.
Yeah,
It's just
yeah, it
complete.
feels pretty complete. That's awesome, awesome, awesome. Thank you so much, Sanjula, and everybody. I'm Sheila McCarthy, Sieusankar, and you can find me all sorts of places that I have in the description link. And I'm so looking forward to then having the part deux. If it
Yeah.
feels fun, if it feels like
Sure.
too scheduled or whatever, we don't do it. But I bet you there will be. My expectation is there
Mm-hmm.
will be things to bask in is my
Yes,
expectation. So
for
I'm so
sure.
looking forward to that.
Wouldn't that
Okay,
be fun?
great. Thank you. Thank you so
So
much,
much.
Sanjula. Thank you. Okay, I'm going to
Thank you.
stop the recording. So I do my little, now I stop the recording. Now I'm going over here to stop the recording because I have to look to see where the recording is. And I'm going to stop it. And then it's going to ask me twice. And then that'll be it. We'll see everybody next time. Okay, bye,
Okay.
everybody. Thanks. See you.
Thank
And I do
you.
want to stop the recording. Thank you.